tonight from the virtual Auto Club Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2020 CORT National Series live tonight on CORT Vision as we get set for round number 10 in the 6th annual Finish the Fight 400. As always, happy that you're spending your Wednesday evening with us up in the broadcast booth. As always, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Zane the Bearded One and David Danboys, who's got the headset on, as well as Twisted and Tweaking at Dials, and bringing us to you this evening. And Zane, 1 week removed from not just a thriller, but two in the Alabama Pride Twin 100s at Talladega, where we saw a lot in the championship shuffle up with two plate races that paid points.
It was a slobber knocker in Alabama, and I will say this, Evan, we saw probably the biggest shakeup in the championship points, and I think the biggest takeaway is Mitchell Riggs missed both races and had a horrible points week, and now he's got to make up a lot of ground this week here in California.
And tonight is, of course, an exciting race. Always fun to be able to get these Xfinity Series cars out to Fontana anyways, and also now being past the halfway point in the season. That championship battle is going to ramp up. But, David, tonight as well, a special event as it is. The annual Finish the Fight 400, sixth different time this event will be run into CORT Series competition, and it'll allow you to speak to the fact that all the cars on track tonight, in fact, most of them, going to have a bit of a different look to what we've been used to.
Yeah, just about every single car in the field, save for about one or two, will be carrying a special paint scheme tonight. If you're new to the Finish the Fight 400 and what we do here in the Championship Online Racing Teams is every single every month but the right one. April! Every single late April, we hold the Finish the Fight 400 here at Auto Club Speedway. It was an idea sprung by Andrew Hess, a former CORT champion, and he came up with this idea to give back to various charities out there, or causes or anything of the like. And tonight is the 6th edition of that, and it started off really as a healthcare thing where it was mostly, cancer charities, disease charities such as that. But the cool thing is that in recent years it's morphed into many other charities: addiction, distracted driving, LGBTQ, women's rights, gun control. It's morphed into these giant causes, and honestly, the coolest thing about it is that every single person in the field is running a cause that is close to them, and that's what we've always been about here at CORT is basically personality and showcasing that. And all these guys are basically running charities or causes that have a deep meaning to them, and it's something that we've done for 6 years. As we mentioned, this is not a new thing. This is not something because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is something that we've done for very many years, 6 years now, after tonight, and it's definitely something that I'm very proud of in the Championship Online Racing Teams.
And we're going to look forward to the racing tonight as well, being exciting, Zane. But the last point that David made there, I think my favorite one as well, is that the drivers are obviously picking causes that are near and dear to them. A lot of them as well representing different charities and organizations that are local to them as well. So you kind of get that flavor of where all these different drivers are racing from.
Yeah, and it's really interesting for drivers to kind of come out here and represent something, like you pointed out, near and dear to their heart. And I think we talked about it last week when we were at Talladega, that the racing community is probably one of the most supportive community in the world, that they come out to help each other. And here they are now for the 6th time, ever, to really represent and bring awareness to something that they hold, very close and support with, like, just looking at the paint schemes and designs. These drivers put a lot of work into their designs, and I know the CORT guys make a joke that they're painters that occasionally race, but these are beautiful cars for a beautiful, cause, and it's not just for COVID, but it's for something. Oh gosh, I just saw John Wood wreck on the practice here. But seeing these drivers put something out here on these tracks to bring awareness to maybe somebody doesn't know, like Big Brothers Big Sisters, St. Jude's, and it now makes someone who watches this broadcast tonight pull up their laptop or their desktop, Google something, next thing you know, maybe make a charitable donation or be, a supporter of the cause because it's something that they realize going, hey, this guy represents something that I have a part of, or I'm a recovering victim of this, or I've been through addiction. And now you see, hey, we're all the same. We're all cut from the same cloth, just from different parts of the world.
And as well, we'll do our best as this race goes on to talk about all of those different charities and foundations and whatnot that are represented on the cards, and hopefully get to talk about almost everybody and what they're running in support of tonight. But it is still a race, and all these drivers still want to be the one to end up in a victory lane at the end of it all. The qualifying session just finished, and right now we get set to go qualifying. And as always, in this CORT National Series, only 40 drivers allowed to make the show, and not every week do we have bump drivers, David, but this week 42 cars put down times in practice, so we will once again see 2 get sent home.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it's with such a big event like this and such an important event, but rules are rules, and we will see only 40 cars make the show. And trust me, I know I'm DNQ'd for the 2018 running of this race, which was heartbreaking, but we'll see if the top 40 in qualifying make the show this week.
And it is, as always, a 2-lap qualifying format, so these drivers doing their best to get around this 2-mile D-shaped oval. I mentioned the championship standing, Zane, kind of shuffled up just a little bit after Talladega, and it was not at the very top. You'll see your live qualified results, the left-hand side of your screen, but John Long and Mike Husby still 1-2 in the points through 9 weeks, but there were a handful of drivers that really benefited from Talladega, and it was Ericsson, Ward, and Bador. All of those drivers launching into the top 5 of the points, sitting 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively. All of that at the cost of somebody like a Mitchell Riggs, who falls from 3rd to 5th, and James Gutta going P4 down to P8.
Yeah, and I think Riggs, when we talked about it last week, and I mentioned it a little earlier, Riggs was probably the biggest loser, no disrespect to it, but he dropped 4 spots. He had a comfortable points lead going into Talladega. DNQ'd, was one of those drivers who couldn't make it. Now he's fallen out. Gutta as well. So right now these guys are trying to dig themselves out of a hole. But Ericsson, man, a man on a mission, looking to really win a championship this season because he's jumping up there and really showing these guys that, hey, I'm here to play and I'm here to make the final championship run and walk away with a big trophy. But Long and Husby, the White Mamba, has been consistent all season long, and it's not a shocker to see him sitting second in points right now.
And you can see as the live timing updates through that Jordan Ericsson currently the best. Looks like most of these drivers lap 1, the best one for them, although John Wood just jumped up to P4. That was on his 2nd lap, and a lot of these drivers, Jordan Ericsson now completing lap number 2. Does he improve at a 42.179? He does not, so he stays the best on his first time through. And of course, Fontana has played host to many races in this CORT National Series. I think going to be the 13th different time. And Brett Black leads all of them with 4 different trips to victory lane. One of only 2 drivers ever to have 4 or more wins at any given track in the history of this series. And had some decent speed in practice, maybe just outside of the top 10 in the qualifying session right now. Certainly going to be a driver to keep an eye on as that clock into qualifying runs down and I start to focus towards the bottom, because right now we have times placed by 40 drivers. We're waiting on Dragon Eddie and Johns to get their laps in.
And it looks, and I'm looking right now, Evan, it looks like it's Tony time on the track, because Tony Johns is now taking his first lap, and he's going to lock himself in. Now Sean Brandt and Dragnetti are on the bubble.
And Dragon Eddie, I don't think is going to get a lap in here. His first lap, I believe, was disqualified because he caught the fence at a turn number 4. I didn't see a lap time get logged for him. And then we actually were watching him live as he spun at a turn number 2 and was into the inside wall. So I don't think Drawn Dragonetti going to make the show. That is after being about a top 20 car in the practice session. You can see Tony Johns wrapping up now his final timed lap as he will go he was 37th on the board, second time by. Does not improve, so he will stay back there in P37, but courtesy of those times, he will bump Sean Brandt, and it looks like Brandt and Dragonetti, maybe the drivers, being sent home.
Never want to be the driver sent home. This reminds me of old school NASCAR, Evan. I'm going to be honest. Back when you saw 60 guys show up to a track, it's amazing to kind of see it. And Dave, like, you got something you want to plug, I hear?
Yeah, and we had a conversation before earlier today about how we were going to cover the drivers who DNQ'd this event, and I want to give them a vocal plug here on the air. Sean Brandt was to support the National Breast Cancer Foundation, so you can find that over if you Google National Breast Cancer Foundation, that will pop up, and you can donate to them. And John Dragonetti was going to support the Atrium Health Levine Children's Hospital and the Children's Miracle Network. So you can find those two causes on the internet. Google their website. Unfortunately, I wish I had the websites for it, but when you're keeping track of 40 plus charities that are being donated, it's not exactly quick and easy to remember. So those two charities of choice for those two drivers. So if you could spare, those two guys are going to be unfortunately not making the show. But again, that's the National Breast Cancer Foundation for Sean Brandt, who is 1/3 of the trio that brings you Trading Paints, and John Dragonetti, graphic designer for a lot of Team Dillon esports in the Coca-Cola series and all that. He was supporting the Atrium Health Levine Children's Hospital.
So appreciate those drivers, of course, coming out and attempting to qualify tonight and getting a call to their causes. And, of course, they'll have the opportunity next week to try to qualify into the next round of this championship as we return May the 6th for the Commonwealth 400. That one to be from the virtual Richmond Raceway, and that'll be the night race. That'll be the next time out on a Wednesday evening here on Court Vision. So these drivers now, again, after qualifying, have an opportunity to kind of debrief, figure out where they've started, and in a moment here they'll have their last little bit of a warm-up session, and then we'll go racing for 100 laps, Zane, which is a healthy margin around this Auto Club Speedway. Of course, as I mentioned off at the top, the 2-mile D-shaped oval with 14 degrees of banking in the corners is high-speed action, and it's real fun. These drivers lapping in the 42-second range basically throughout the entire field. So there's, this racetrack can kind of bring a whole host of different things. Not necessarily guaranteed to be one that could run green, but it could certainly be one that has restarts mixed in. And admittedly, I think one of my favorite tracks on the service.
I really like Auto Club, and one of the things I think is great about this track is there's multiple grooves. It's not something like we saw at Talladega where guys, really sat on the bottom and waited to make that high line work. Here, if you can get that Larson line, as we like to call it, running that high side, you can get a great run off the corners and drag race a guy down and make that pass going into 1 or going into 3. So I think here we're going to see a lot of side-by-side, possibly 4 or 5 wide by the end of the night. We'll be calling some action. These guys are sitting right on top of each other with these lap times. Put them in the draft, get them nose to tail, and it's going to be exciting all the way around this 2-mile track.
It is going to be a good one, and in the picture of the championship, we talked about kind of who was seated where, but the one thing that I missed on that first time, David, was how tight the championship picture is coming into this evening as the pace truck takes a solo parade lap around Fontana, because John Long has been up top, but he remains there, still without a win, though, so it's been the consistency for him that has been of the utmost importance, but he's only 7 points ahead of Mike Husby in second, and Erickson, Ward, Medor, Riggs, but all those drivers down through the top 6 are all within 30 points of him. So it's not like he started to pull away. This is shaping up to be a really great battle for the championship in the second half of the season.
Yeah, and we crossed over the halfway point last week at Talladega, and you look at this championship, the top 9 are only separated by 45 points at the halfway point of the championship. And remember, these drivers still have 2 drop weeks that will work in there, so it's only going to get closer by the time we crown our champion in late June. But John Long has had a real renaissance season. Long has struggled last year in 2019 with putting together solid finishes, so to see him actually rebound and lead the point standings past the halfway point of the championship is something that's really good to see.
And now just waiting on the cars to be on track for that final warm-up session, and this race is going to get underway. Of course, we've had a lot of action on Court Vision as well, David, not just exclusive to Wednesday evening. So maybe if somebody's tuning in with us tonight, what have they missed so far this week in Court?
Well, this week in Court, we had the Court Drive First Supercars Championship, and that was a really exciting race. We were at the Mount Panorama circuit in Australia, the Bathurst circuit in Australia for the Bathurst 250. And let me tell you something, 40 laps around that place, that is a workout. And it ended up going to a native of the Australia-New Zealand club on iRacing. Callum Watson got the victory in the Bathurst 250 in that series. And then last night in the Court MH Design Series, we were at the Williams Grove Speedway for the Cumberland County Sprint Car Nationals, and Mike Husby got the victory over Kenneth Drake in that one. So a lot of really exciting action, and we've got a little bit more coming to you this Friday, the IRX All-Star Invitational, and we got to thank our friends over at Subaru in Yokohama for making that possible. You can catch that over on iRacing.com/live. That's officiated by these very same championship online racing teams. 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be at the Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Talk about being halfway home here in the Court National Series, past the halfway point now. That'll be round 4 of 6 for the IRX All-Star Invitational, and I'm looking forward to that one. Cars, though, back on track as we get set to go racing. And one thing that we just noticed now as these drivers roll off of the pit lane is it looks like it is just about time for that sun to start to set. So all of this started way back, at least for me, with the Hangover 400, which was the showdown at sunrise, where we actually started racing in the middle of the night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and the sun rose. We raced into the morning, but tonight, Zane, we're going to race into the evening, as we'll start in twilight conditions and race under the lights when it's all said and done.
I just hope there's no full moon tonight on the track in the virtual sphere, because as we've historically seen, full nights bring out chaos and destruction. And last week at Talladega, the guys only brought out, 5 cautions total? I think 4 cautions after the doubleheader. And here we're going to go from day to night. The track conditions were going to change, as iRacing has that progressive change and dynamic change of the track based off the rubber buildup, the temperature. So that temperature will drop once that sun goes down. So it's going to be very exciting and interesting to watch it as we go from twilight, that beautiful magic hour as we call it in the film world, to just darkness with the lights coming on and these guys racing under the lights on a Wednesday night to finish the fight.
And I don't know if it's scientific or what, but it always seems like it doesn't matter if it's, actually because the nighttime condition cools the asphalt and the cars have a little bit more grip and these drivers get a little bit more brave or whatever it have you, David. The surface and conditions and all of that, I don't care. I just love racing under the lights. I think it's kind of the way that all racing should be, and certainly gives it a much more exciting feel. And looking forward to this one being that transition, because that will not only be cool for us to experience and these drivers to be able to race off into the night, but it will have effects on how the sim behaves.
Yeah, and it's kind of cliche. Hey, we need more night races. Everybody wants more night races. Now it's kind of flipped to the opposite in the real world, where people want more day races because they find the cars are too glued on the racetrack when it's a night race. But this will be very interesting. This is the first of 2 kind of day to night races in the next little bit, because on May 20th, the Independence 500K, which is our traditional day to night race at Charlotte, a 208 lap endurance event at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, is a day to night race as well. So when iRacing gave us the ability to have these day to night events, this was one that we had circled as administration to be like, you know what, let's make this kind of our, Coca-Cola 600, despite the fact that we do have a Coca-Cola 600 knockoff in the Independence 500. This is something that we could definitely make unique and special to us, and these guys will have to deal with it. The sun will be in their eyes coming off of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway here tonight, so the early part of this race, they're not going to have fun.
We are set now with that warm-up session drawn to a close to go racing, so let's take a look at your Finish the Fight 400 starting grid. So Jordan Erickson going to bring us to the green flag in this one, the 42-180, best of them all. So he'll lead us to the green flag alongside the 90 of Johnny Eckert in second. John Long going to start in third spot. He'll be joined by Dylan Gooden on the outside of road 2 to P4. The next duo going to be with Brandon Ward and John Wood for P5 and 6. Row 4, we'll see Matt Harrington on the bottom, Mitchell Riggs on the outside, and behind them, the 24 of Andrew Hess P9, and a 98 at X Stoller round out your top 10.
On row number 6 on the inside will be the White Mamba, Mike Husby. On his outside will be Brett Black in that number 4 car. Behind them will be Steven Taylor. Jeffrey Miller qualified 13th. James Good is going to be 14th. And then Jake Finch will be 15th. Behind them, Steve Ludenberg had a great run last week at Talladega, almost won it. He's going to be starting on the inside. On his outside will be Steve Boylan. Then we got Caden Bomberbach. I always butcher his name. Caden, please send me an angry email. And then Matt Wood will round out the top 20 there, Evan.
And then continuing on through to Monte Dotson to be 21st with Justin Bland in 22nd. Aaron Bean 23rd, doubled up with Tyler Tucker on the outside of road 12 at P24. Kevin Bengal starts 25th. Julian Bedore back in the number 26 position with Chris Sweat in 27th. Patrick Lindsay P28, and it is Jeff Gross and Justin Rector on row 15.
31st will be Robert Hill Jr., now on his outside, Davis Warren. Behind those two will be Mason Dunn, Philip Clark. We have Anthony Hyatt in the 35th spot. On his outside, John Wilco. Behind them, Tony Time, Tony Johns, Chad Holmes. Then 39th will be Alex Ripstein. And then shotgun on the field with the rookie stripes, the number 11 of Roger Espinoza.
Was the last driver to get in from that knockout qualifying. His lap time of a 8.76 was better than the 3.39 of Brandt, but a half a second difference between the 42.8 and the 43.3 as my Espinosa made the show. Brandt did not, and again, Dragonetti DNC'ing in qualifying, also not making the show. And just for my purposes, saying this is a race that I like because the math is nice and easy. 100 laps means that we're going to go racing for 200 miles tonight in Southern California as the sun dips behind the mountains and we race into the evening. It'll be round 10 of the CORT National Series, and we're about set to get underway.
So I want to ask you, Evan, what time do you think the sun's going to go down if you had to be a betting man?
I'd say maybe 40 laps in. I don't know what sim time is. Maybe 40 laps in. We'll see.
All right. I'm gonna hold you to that. And if not, you owe me $5 virtual.
Noted. We'll make sure that gets taken care of. Either way, it is going to be a fun evening of racing. And as always, we're happy that you're hanging out with us on a Wednesday night here on CORT Vision. The front row going to be made up by the number 88 of Jordan Erickson and his Attack Addiction Ford Mustang. To the outside, it'll be the 90 of Johnny Eckert representing St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in his Chevrolet Camaro. We're set to go for the 6th annual Fight the Finish 400 as we say, let's go racing from Fontana. We're off and away. It's round 10 of the CORT National Series, and Erickson is way out in front in the first race to turn 1. They're clear up front now at a turn 2. The fight going to be for second, and John Long has got it for now. Slides in front of Johnny Eckert to the inside positioning. Better for him. So single file through your top 5. Long dropped the spot, or gained the spot as Ward now behind also picks up a position. So Dylan Gooden dropped the back. Both cars on the outside lane up front had some issues, but we got a bit of 3 wide behind them as it's the 09 car, I believe, of Mitchell Riggs trying to get to the bottom. That is on the 02 of Matt Harrington.
Yeah, the 02 of Matt Harrington right now is having a little bit of a blinky issue. It's sim racing, so you know sometimes there's a little bit of connection problems. So a few times around this track already on lap 1 and lap 2 has been blinking, which has been slowing up that 9 of Riggs.
And it checks him up just a little bit, not quite as intense of an Elliott Sadler situation. If you saw Wednesday night iRacing a little bit earlier this evening on FS1, as they were doing a bit of super late model action from the Michigan International Speedway. So Harrington's going to have to work on that. Would certainly not want an internet issue to hurt him after starting up front and having so much speed in the beginning of this race. But kind of all this calamity, tail end of the top 10, the first side-by-side battle is now Harrington getting passed by Riggs as the 09 machine gets on through. Riggs representing Disabled American Veterans Charity this evening. Now stepping back to look at the 6 of Mike Husby, who's trying to make some moves, but he's got some traffic.
Got some traffic, and he's got John Wood and that 16 Big Brothers Big Sisters Ford Mustang in front of him. And now that's going to open the door, though. Husby better watch out, because here comes the 42 of Steven Taylor looking to the inside as Wood cuts up in front of him.
Okay, Taylor's trying to get it down to the bottom, but it'll be Husby who makes the move first to the inside of the 16 of John Wood. This will be a side-by-side battle for positions 9 and 10 on the racetrack, and he has got it down low. So Husby in the positive. Taylor down, going to follow him through as well. But I think Wood's going to have a good counter punch here on the outside. He's got that banking in his favor, and he'll drive right back up alongside that 6 car down low. He's not willing to roll this over and give up yet.
No, Wood and Husby right now drag racing it through 3 and 4, but Husby's going to get the inside line. But here comes Wood again with that 16 Mustang on the outside. Going to use that momentum to get side by side as we come down the front stretch.
He's going to dive down to the apron, and again, it is a very wide and slow-banked front straightaway here, so you don't get as much of an advantage diving down there as you would at a place like Chicagoland or Las Vegas, but still good enough. But it is going to assist the 6 of Husby to completing that pass for now. John Wood wants to repay the favor. He was able to prolong this battle by funding back on the outside. Now he's crossing over to the bottom. We'll go side by side again. All of this for P9 and 10.
These guys are racing like it's the last 10 laps, and behind them you have the 4 of Brett Black and the 42 of Steven Taylor getting a little side by side. And now we have 3 rows of 2x2 all right here in this gap of cars from about 6th on back.
Yeah, up the road, it's Andrew Hess on the inside of Matt Harrington. Try to make a move on him as well. The battle behind is Brett Black on Steven Taylor. So fighting going on throughout the field here at Fontana. Harrington a bit slow off of the corner there. So that'll allow Andrew Hess to clear. So does the 6 of Mike Husby. John Wood next row to the inside as Harrington continuing to struggle with those connection issues. He'll actually try to cross over John Wood, but it's not going to happen quite yet there. We will back off for the sake of caution, and that means that behind, I thought the battle, and there it is, in fact, it is James Gutta. That's the 86 car down on the bottom. His Toyota trying to make a pass on Taylor for 12th and 13th.
And while we're watching this battle here, Evan, I looked up front right now, and Brandon Ward is putting some moves on Johnny Eckert, and now that's going to let Mitchell Riggs, who was our championship points leader going into Talladega, now sitting 5th. We got a 3-car battle for 3rd.
This is a big group of race cars, and it's about 1 second off of the battle for the race lead. John Long still trying to chase down Erickson. You can see those two coming across the front of the screen now with a couple of car lengths in between them. This battle for 3rd, the more engaging one right now. And again, Ward benefited. So did Long. Both those cars inside of row 2 and 3 respectively. In the case of Long and Ward, gained positions on the start. To the dismay of Johnny Eckert and Dylan Gooden, who are on the outside of rows 1 and 2, who just did not get as good of a start. They all lost spots off the get-go. But you mentioned Mitchell Riggs, and he's one of the drivers on the move. +4 means he's the biggest mover right now inside your top 10, and he's the driver who could be putting the pressure on those two in front of him.
You know, Riggs is hungry for a win after not getting any points last week, dropping back to 5th. He's tied for 5th. But 4 spots he dropped from being the championship point center. He's got 3 wins on the season, Evan. You know he wants to make it 4. But Erickson, our race leader, he's got 2 wins. He could be the 3rd-time winner right now. But look at Riggs looking to the inside, making the move on the 57. He clears him. He's going to close the door on him as he moves up in front.
So it didn't take long as Mitchell Riggs gets to both of them. Now up to third for a race high. There is no counter from Brandon Ward. Basically just follows him off into the quarter. And at number 57, the machine of Ward representing the Alzheimer's Association will drop back to position number 4. But again, I think still in a very good position, positive from where he started. The draft as well, David, so important here in Fontana. These drivers, you can see basically all following in line with one another. And that's why, and we'll delay that for a moment, a yellow flag, the 97 car is stopped in 1 and 2, and that's the yellow for Jeff Gross. Get a second look at this, but on the replay, Gross at the outside of a battle for 26th and 27th, and it just slows down, and that race car locked up. That looks like a wheel going out or something on the sim, or not on the sim, I guess on a hardware end, Zane. As he was going off and into the corner, and that immediately locked all the way to the left, hard on the brakes. That looks like classic symptoms of a wheel disconnect.
Yeah, we've seen that a couple of times, especially in sim racing. Once those wheels go dead left, you know that wheel's cut off and the car has no control. It's better than what we saw a few. It's better than what we saw a few times where someone's screen has gone off mid-race, but you hate to see it for the 97.
And I believe, David, it's O-Search on the car. Is that how we pronounce it?
Yes, O-Search. It's the you hear the joke, but it's serious. It's the Save the Whales Fund on the number 97. They also they focus on marine biology out there. So it's whales, dolphins, fish of that nature. That is the cause on the 97 of Jeff Gross there.
I took 2 semesters of speaking whale.
It's got the Free Willy hashtag on the back of the car. That's my favorite part.
Were you a Free Willy kid growing up?
Of course. Imagine not being.
Dude, Michael Madsen was the best stepdad ever.
He's still trapped down there in turns 1 and 2, and I thought about it, and I'm not actually going to use the beached whale analogy as these cars come down to the pit lane. Erickson, Long, Riggs, Ward, Gooden, your top 5. I get an early yellow in this one, but these cars did have a good bit of fall off for Erickson. His best lap of the race was a 42.1. He had already been running 42.3s or so, 5. So, I mean, already a half a second or so of fall off. So the call probably going to be for 4 tires that they hit the boxes.
Yeah, definitely 4 tires fuel. You want to get 4 fresh, virtual feel goods on that car. And Dave, I want to go to you here. What is the drop-off? You've been watching these guys practice all night. You've been hearing these guys talk about this race. How many laps are they getting on these tires before they have to really worry about watching what they do?
I think you'll start seeing it start to really come into play after about 15 laps in the run here. Typically, you see it at about like lap 20 or 25 at a mile and a half with the added distance here and with the tighter radius of the corners here at Fontana. You'll start seeing it after about the first Baker dozen or so laps, 13, 15 laps. You'll start seeing guys who saved their stuff at the beginning of the run and the guys who didn't start to kind of swap places. But the thing is that these restarts here at Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, these restarts here, it's so difficult to be patient and not make die-hard, big moves on the restarts. You really have to really kind of stay within yourself and pace yourself on these restarts, especially early in the race, because you don't know if we're going to have a long green flag run, which can tend to happen here at Fontana.
We can see that Stoller's name, Nick Stoller, ends up at the top of the scoring pylon for a moment. He missed his pit stall when they were in the last time, so he took the lap around and will forfeit that position, get his service, drop back in the back. Everybody else at agreeance, 4 tires and fuel, the correct decision to make. And I will take a totally pointless survey at the booth while we pace under caution flag conditions. We, of course, Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, California. So they call this racetrack many things. A lot of people go away. Auto Club, Fontana, or California. Of the 3, we'll go to you, David, first. What should we be calling this racetrack?
Well, I'm sure the Auto Club of Southern California would love us to call it the Auto Club Speedway. But I personally have always interchanged California and Fontana. But I do find that the IndyCar Circle tends to call this place Fontana more than the stock car guys. Do
you agree or disagree, Zane?
Oh, man, I call it all 3, to be honest. depending on how long you've been a NASCAR fan, you know it as California, you know it as Fontana, you know it as Auto Club. But I think Fontana just rolls off the tongue a little bit better than Auto Club for me. I don't know why. And we're in California, of course, so you kind of, and you're right outside of LA, so it just kind of fits perfectly to call it Fontana California Speedway or Raceway.
Yeah, you get the SoCal vibes in there as well, but I always thought that California sounded a little bit more fancy or preppy, but it's not the only California race on the NASCAR schedule, so that's why I never totally bought into that one, and I will make it three apiece, and I'll say Fontana as well. Is what I tend to refer to this racetrack of. Of course, it's sister track way across the country in Brooklyn, Michigan, similar style. Those big D-shaped, 2-mile tracks. And Michigan will be on the calendar, David, for round 15, the Motor City 400 later this year.
Yeah, they'll be out in June, and that place there with the recent repave that we got on iRacing is one of the really fast, fun racetracks on the service. This place is kind of the opposite. It's a little bit lower banked, and it's also aged. There's a lot of bumps on this back straightaway. We'll try and get our cameras trained on them, but you can definitely see when they are going into 3, especially the camera that we have pointing from the infield, when they're coming down the back straightaway and going into turn number 3, just watch the suspension travel these cars make. It almost looks like Ivan Stewart off-road back in the day on the arcade machine with the way that these guys are going down the back straightaway. In fact, you can kind of see a little bit of it here under caution when we come back to the green.
Yeah, even when they're pacing around at 70 miles an hour, I see the cars in the outside lane bumping around as they go off into 3. So let's keep an eye on that when they come around next time at speed. That same part of the racetrack, they'll be doing about 180, 185 miles an hour compared to, of course, pace speed that we're running right now. The pace truck going to dive down and in. We put the field once more in the hands of Jordan Erickson, who's going to be in control for this restart. We will put 14 laps down and take 86 laps to go from what we have decided is Fontana. Pace car down and in. Let's see what Jordan Erickson's got. He has led so far tonight, and he's got a good jump this time. Green flag flies. We're back underway. And John Long looks like he'll be able to defend second. He steps down. Fight's going to be behind him for third.
Long going to move down to that bottom line. Erickson going to stay in the middle as we go into 1 and 2. Now he's going to bring it down to the white line here through 2. But behind him, Evan, look at that. Behind Long, 2 by 2 by 2 all the way back. These guys are racing for position, trying to get make up as much ground as they can before they start to single file out here.
And that's, of course, how these races play out is you want to get the spots early, because if we really get into a rhythm, it's a racetrack that does lend itself to more opportunities to pass than some of the other ones, just because it's so wide and you leave the inside exposed. But it's going to be a quick yellow behind Jake Finch and John Wilco, 2 of the drivers involved in that one, maybe more. Yeah, there it is, the 8 car. He touched the 69 Division to Matt Wood, who we picked up first, but I caught Finch just because I think that Wrangler paint scheme's so iconic that your eyes just kind of gravitate right to it, and those 2 drivers got into each other, and then it was an unfortunate bit of contact for John Wilco, who was representing the Hear the World Foundation tonight, who had nowhere to go and drove into the side. There's the damage on the 62.
Just a victim of circumstance in that situation. We talked about it briefly, right? Where these guys are going to try to get as much room as they can or make up as much ground as they can, and just racing for the same spot. And the 8 goes up and then collects people behind them. Now the question becomes, how mad are they going to be over the radios?
Yeah, when you get early incidents, it tends to not lead to a lot of powwows in the middle of the race of the good kind. And suppose that's something, David, that you could speak to. We've touched on this before as well at some of the shoulder tracks that we've been to this year, where those tempers may be more inclined to boil over faster than at some other places. I mean, before the race, everybody's on the radio with each other, having in-depth discussions about cars too. And in the race, when they get involved in some incidents, does that change at all?
They really kind of change. It really does change once these guys actually, end up with the once the green flag drops, you hear the old saying, once the green flag drops, the BS stops. And that seems to be the case with this Championship Online Racing team here in the CORT National Series. But, when it comes to all of this, that's the one great thing about this league. And as someone who oversaw this National Series division for 15 seasons and, and is very much echoed by the current series director, Aaron Bean, is that these guys, they'll let some stuff go. It's not like you'll see some sim racing leagues where they'll immediately penalize if something happens. They'll immediately call something. They need to nip it right away. Here, they allow a little street justice. They allow a little retort. We saw it at Martinsville between Mitchell Riggs and Julian Medor as a prime example here on Court Vision. So here, though, I don't know. I mean, do you really want to start a fight when we're trying to finish a fight?
I like the working the plug-in there. David, he does a couple of weeks of this. I think he's got the broadcast stuff nailed down now.
I hope so. I went to school for it, so...
Dave, I do want to ask you, though, do we get 2 completed laps? Are we going to go single file restart or double file restart? Have you heard?
I have not heard, but I'm assuming, because we only got 3/4 of a lap, I'm going to imagine that this will be a single file restart.
And going back to Evan, you talked about the Cars 2 reference. What's your favorite Cars movie? I walked in on you guys having that conversation. I was like, oh, no, I'm not getting involved here. But since we're out in California, Cars 1, 2, you a Lightning McQueen fan? Like, what's your favorite?
Well, the original Cars is obviously number 1, and then Cars 3 is number 2.
Okay. I'm looking at chat. There are a few people that are saying Cars 3. They prefer that over every other Cars.
Okay.
Is that the one where it's where he like? Because mind you, I've only seen Cars 1. And I've seen bits and pieces of the other ones. Is that the one where they put him on the simulator and he freaks out? Is Cars 3?
Yeah, I call it the iRacing Cars, the iRacing one.
Yeah, I call that the Jimmy Johnson testing.
I'm surprised somebody hasn't pulled out that clip from the movie when Jimmy does a couple of these pro invitationals.
Oh man, what's this? Okay, I got this. I don't need training wheels. Oh god, turn it off.
Yeah, no, just not good. And notice how the discussion started. At least David, you were here earlier. Was there a discussion about Cars, or was everybody just talking about Cars 2? Because that's what I heard, and I didn't even include Cars 2 onto my list because I refuse to acknowledge its existence in canon.
I believe it started with Cars 1, and it was related to Cars 1. The depths of the conversation we cannot mention on air. But
I walked in on pitches. Like, you guys were pitching sequels and spinoffs for the Cars series when I walked in.
Somebody referenced Cars 4 numerous times, and I'm not sure if that's a thing or not.
We got to call Pixar about that one. But, yeah, actually, it looks like we will go double file for this restart. So the court officials finding that maybe a circumstantial incident, and they're actually going to go ahead and run them double file on this restart.
So we'll stay 2x2 for this one, and we talk about being in Southern California and racing movies. Of course, Herbie filmed here. I rewatched that the other day.
The Lindsay Lohan
That's another good one. Yeah.
I feel so bad for you.
The newer one, not the... Oh. But see, for my
Ford
age
versus
bracket,
Ferrari?
that is my... Well, no, we're not at... Can we refer to this as Daytona for the rest of the broadcast?
I mean, it was filmed here. It was filmed here, technically.
Yeah. So for the rest of the race, if we just refer to this as Daytona, then that's fine. Because it's movie magic.
We are in Southern California.
Anything's possible, just CG and I.
Exactly. And well, isn't this all CG?
Oh, yeah.
Mind blown. There you go.
Green screens everywhere, kids. You have no idea. Movie magic going on here.
This is what happens when they give us a couple of yellow flags early, is we get off the rails, and who knows how this one is going to take off from here. But the pace car is going to be off and in. It'll be a side-by-side restart again to put 19 laps down from what the movies want to make you believe is Daytona International Speedway. Green flag in the air, still 81 laps to go, so a long way from home. But side-by-side, can the field negotiate this opening lap?
And it's almost a repeat or deja vu from the last restart, Evan. Ericsson gets a great jump. John Long's falling down to the bottom groove, closing the door. on Mitchell Riggs, and I think Riggs is really starting to time these restarts because he's creeping up on the bumper every time of John Long once we go green.
And that's the big thing for him is obviously he wants to get those green flag laps in. The top two pull away. The battle's going to be for third because it is Mitchell Riggs on the inside of Andrew Hess, and he's got him. So move Riggs now to third, continuing his march to the front. In fact, both he and Hess have been oh so good on the go here. But at least on this restart, it is Riggs with the bottom, the better car for the moment. And you can see the first couple of lanes are single filed up. There is a lot of 2x2. Basically all from Husby P7 on back. Husby funnied with Eckert, and there's a lot more behind them.
Yeah, Husby and Eckert side by side, drag race down the backstretch, door to door with the 90 and the 6. And now look in front of them, they're starting to get too wide again. Racy all over the track here.
And that's what we like to see in Fontana, is the 6-car Husby on the bottom, try to make a move just like you saw the 57 of Ward do there. Ward clear of Dylan Gooden in a fight for P5 and 6. And of course, Husby using that apron to basically for the entire front half of that front straightaway. Obviously still has to get it back up to get high and to make that arc down and into the corner, because David, you had mentioned the banking here into Fontana, kind of deceptive as it sits at 14 degrees, which really isn't a ton.
No, it's actually one of the lower banked racetracks in the NASCAR Cup Series as far as tracks with moderate banking, if that makes any sense. It's kind of mid-grade as far as the banking goes, but only 14 degrees of banking. That's only 5 degrees more than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so not a lot of banking, but they seem to be able to put the power down on the exit of the corners here.
And that's the key, because it is a long straightaway, and these cars very momentum-based. Of course, they used to be kind of the car that was momentum-based until the Cup Series package was modified, and now it might feel like these things are the ones with a whole ton of power. Let's look at the 90 machine of Johnny Eckert now. He wants to join this battle and make it, 3 drivers involved. The 6-car of Husby finally clear of Dylan Gooden, but he may not even actually gain a spot on the scoring pylon, because as he goes +1, the Omni of Johnny Eckert wants to get right back from him. Flirt with those left side tires, though, Zane, down on the white line. Got to be careful when you do that.
Yeah, because we saw right there the 90 of Eckert pushed up the track a little bit. Husby had the situational awareness to kind of float that car middle to high groove to give him the space he needed. But Evan, I'm looking up front right now while we're watching this battle, and Long Riggs is right there on the bumper, reeled in the leader of Ericsson, and we may have a battle for the lead here in the next lap and a half.
Not only is John Long trying to use those green flag laps to fight with Ericsson up front, but as you said, Riggs has joined the party as well, and admittedly, not a lot of separation up front, and I think the draft has a lot to do with that, because Hess and Ward, 4th and 5th as well, all within 1 second of the 88 car at the front of the field right now. So Jordan Erickson has gone basically unchallenged to this point. The 2-time race winner this year from Iowa and then Martinsville has led from the get-go, but it's going to be under fire. And I don't know who needs to be more concerned about, John Long at the bumper or Mitchell Riggs, the driver on the charge.
Yeah, I can't see Mitchell Riggs. He's got that camo disabled American veteran scheme going on for his charity. It's like John Cena out in the track, right? I don't even know if John Long can see him in his rear view right now. He's so blended in.
Yeah, I just see a hood and a bumper, and I'm not sure if that's up to tech inspection or not.
Dave, you want to rule in on that?
Very liberal tech rules here in the Championship Online Racing teams.
Well, it's good to know that we didn't bring the Snowball Derby, tech team over and kind of microscope everything. Let him race at Auto Club. If it'll drive, let it race. And Mitchell Riggs has been one of the best cars so far tonight, but I think he's going to have to deal with Long primarily, as Ericsson doing everything he can, maybe to push a little bit more. I know you don't want to overdrive the race car early in a run. Closing threats from behind. Let Riggs and Long fight it out for a second, and the longer that's on, the better off you'll be.
And we're getting about to that point, about 4 to 6 laps, those tires are really going to start to drop off for these guys. It's been about 10 laps since the leaders were last down pit road. So as Dave pointed out, about 15 laps or so on these tires before they start to really let loose. And you got to wonder if these guys, Ericsson, Long, and Riggs, are going to try to stay nose to tail just to pull away from that pack, because as they've been in that draft, the 24 of Hess couldn't actually make a run, but now he's starting to try to close that 4-car gap up.
He's trying, and maybe this is because, the draft is a benefit when you're on the straights because you're able to draft up to each other. But if you're somebody like a Riggs third in line here, if you're stuck in that wake, then you're taking a little bit of the downforce off of the front of the car. When you get down and into the corner, it can tighten up real fast, and maybe that is what has slowed Riggs' charge down after he kind of barreled through the field real fast and efficient to get up to third, and has kind of been parked here, but a car length or two off of second-place runner John Long since then. So Haas fourth, again, no real changes behind. Ward still fifth, and your top 10 is single-filed out is on a green flag run tonight. First battle going to be Taylor and Luvender for 11th and 12th position, and it was Luvender trying to make a pass down on the inside, who Steve was admittedly surprised by his qualifying effort tonight. David thought that maybe when we went racing, he would drop back, but so far the drive first machine has been doing real well. Close it in on a top 10 spot maybe.
Yeah, and he's got a history of success here at Auto Club Speedway, Fontana, California Speedway of Southern California. He has a couple victories here in the Championship Online Racing Teams and almost won this Finish the Fight 400 a few seasons ago.
And he goes too high, though, that time down into 1 and 2, so it's opening the door for the 86 of James Gutta down on the inside. The fight's going to be for 12th and 13th. And more names back here that we haven't talked a ton about. We did mention Matt Harrington earlier, who started in 7th, but he's continuing to have some of those issues. It has dropped back to P14 to get the likes of Brett Black, Devontae Dotson, Kyton Bommersbach, Tyler Tucker, all these drivers in a single-file train. 49 laps into this race, 37. The cars who started still on the lead lap, and here's Gutta on the bottom trying to complete the pass on Luvender.
And right now, Luvender looks like he's got his hands full a little bit. I've seen him a few times get a little too high going on the entry of corners. That's going to open the door for Gutta in that 86 machine. And behind them, Brett Black and Harrington still side by side, battling it out for about 13th there.
Oh, and Luvender caught the fence. Oh, and he's into the wall again. He had to pull it off, but now he's spinning on the back straightaway. He's around in turn number 3. The caution flag is out, and that one might as well on me.
I think I'm starting to curse him, man. I'm just not going to say his name no more.
I'm looking through the field, I'm like, who should we talk about? And Steve was tweeting that, didn't think he was going to qualify that. I'm like, hey, he's doing real good. Let's give him a shout-out, and immediately afterwards, he spins. I didn't realize we were racing a Road America again.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to bet that Steve has got the broadcast up and he heard his name and was like, oh gosh, you're talking about me. And then looped it around. But you know who this is going to really benefit right now, Evan? Erickson, Long, Riggs, Hess, Ward, Husby. Those drivers pitted about 15, 16 laps ago. This is going to give them a chance to go down pit road, get 4 fresh Dr. Feelgoods on, and a full tank of virtual Sunoco race fuel without having to worry about losing those spots under a green flag stop.
Yeah, it's going to be at 1/3 distance in this one, and if Steve is listening in, then maybe he heard us talk about him and just simply out of spite sacrificed his race to keep the commentator's curse meme alive. And if that is the case, we thank him for his service in that endeavor. The car is not all that beat up, though, so he's going to get it back rolling towards the back of the pack and try to get back into things, but he'll be in the high 30s, not where you would want to be as this race closes in on halfway. The sun continues to set as Jordan Aronson brings him down to the pit lane again. So far tonight has been untouchable.
Now the battle off pit road. We already saw one driver miss his pit box on entry and had to go make that extra lap around. So you got to wonder how many drivers are a little nerve-wracked going in here.
And are we going to blame that, maybe, David, on the fact that a different paint scheme tonight means they might have changed the pit board? As there's another driver, Mike Husby from P6, who missed the stall, I believe, and he's going to drive through.
Yeah, it's kind of shocking, though, because with iRacing in recent build, actually with this car, I think once they released it, they made it so that the pit board can be transplanted as its own little section of the template. So these guys have their usual pit boards. But the one thing that might be deceiving them, I believe the sun is shining right on the pit stretch. And it's causing these guys to maybe not get the clearest of view to their stall, because that's now 2 drivers, Mike Husby and Nick Stoller, who missed their pit stall under caution flag pit stops.
It does look like the sun's actually reflecting off of those pit boards and is making it almost impossible to actually read what's on them. Let's see if we can go on board with Husby, maybe, if he's going to come down to the pit lane this time. And we might be able to see what the drivers are seeing, because, again, the sun is going from turn 4 to 1. So the sun is shooting on the side of the board that the drivers are facing. The sun may be behind the grandstands enough, but yeah, look on the left-hand side. I mean, they're all painted differently, but admittedly, I can't tell the difference right there.
Yeah, very difficult to see these pit boards, and like I mentioned, these guys have the same pit board week in, week out. It's not like other cars on the service where they don't have custom pit board every week. You know, it's the Indy cars, the Class A Cup cars. These are the only real cars where you can have the pit sign match the same week in and week out. So it's not a case of these guys all running special paint schemes. They're not seeing their pit stalls. This is just because of the sun, and that's one of the challenges of these day-to-night events, is that you got to struggle to find your pit stall, and that caused Husby to fall all the way from, where was he, top 10 roughly in that run?
Yeah, he was 6th.
Yeah, he's going to fall all the way down to 36th when we get back to green, as the lights come on now. As there you go, we can see the lights turn on the screen. Look at that.
And I'll say this, guys, like, watching Husby, because I followed him from the cockpit view the entire way down, I couldn't make out a single number on those pit signs as he drove down there. So I wouldn't expect it.
And one more thing, sorry, but you see it right there now. We're still on board with Mike Husby. That's what the drivers are seeing on the restarts and during green flag action coming off of turn number 2, and that can get really distracting for the drivers. Once that sun clears and goes behind that mountainside outside the back straightaway, it'll be a little bit better, but they still have to deal with that sun reflecting in their eyes.
And we're 7 laps away from my sunset estimate of lap 40. So, Zane, it's going to be close. Just get the Venmo ready or whatever.
The virtual Venmo?
Yeah. Isn't Venmo virtual anyways?
Oh, yeah. I'll just send you some VC, you know. We'll play some 2K or something.
Sure thing. Let's see if the lights go out on top of the pace truck this time. They do. So wave around going to be handed out to John Wilco, who's going to go all the way around. And we will reset for the first time tonight with a new race leader, John Long, better on pit road. His stop was an entire second nearly better than Ericsson. He only spent 14.5 seconds in the pit stall. Ericsson spent 15.3. So because of that difference, John Long's pit time total from pit lane entry to exit was about 0.9 of a second faster. And because of that, he ends up as the race leader. I thought maybe initially it was just Ericsson choosing the outside, but now it is John Long in front. So Ericsson's bid at being perfect tonight is erased, and we knew that John Long had some speed. Let's see how important the track position is. Can he kind of get a stranglehold on the field here, being the control car up front with the clean air?
And this is really what I'm really interested to see is the 88 behind the 26 now. We saw that the 26 and the 09 of Riggs had an issue just trying to make a move because of the aero package. And now Ericsson is going to be stuck behind this 26, and we're really going to see if the car does get tight or if Ericsson's got the speed to get around to 26 along.
We're going to find out this time through Hess and Riggs on row 2. With Brandon Ward's 57 car rounding out the top 10. But for the first time tonight, the field is in the hands of the 26 of John Long. Green flag flies. We're back and away. We're 1/3 distance in the Finish the Fight 400.
And nobody caught sleeping this time, Evan. Everyone knows the tail about a car length away here from each other. The 26 has got about a car and a half on the 88 of Ericsson. And the 24 of Hess, though, still right in tow, wasn't caught sleeping.
The dying moments of sunlight here in SoCal as Long leads. The battle going to be behind as I think that's the 57 of Ward. Yes, down on the inside. And struggling here in traffic now is Mitchell Riggs. He's the one passed up by Brandon Ward. Slots into the middle between him and a 90 machine. You see them there. That's Johnny Eckert, third in line on the bottom of the Onana Riggs, trying to stop the bleeding. Does so successfully as now the driver under fire going to be the 24 Chevy of Andrew Hess.
It has stuck on the outside, the inside line of the 57, the 09, and the 90, just freight training around him, and has almost collecting that outside wall there.
Well, we've seen Luvender get into the fence, a couple of drivers as well. With that lack of bank, he'd have found that wall at a turn number 2, and it is not a good entry into 4 for the 24 of Hess. So not only does Brandon Ward get clear, so does Mitchell Riggs. So with the 09 just lost is retaken. But here's where you can get in trouble, because the 90 Johnny Eckert, a little bit squirrely that time using the apron. Now going to try to do the same thing, and all it takes is to let one car to the bottom, and if you let them get that lane, there could be a whole host of them. Eckert trying to clear Hess, can't do it. Well, in front of them, Mitchell Riggs wants to rejoin the top 3, trying to get to the inside of Brandon Ward. Not going to happen this lap.
Eric Riggs had the shot going into 2, coming down on the inside. Couldn't make the momentum, just that outside line, just really getting that run off the corners. And I think, Evan, as the sun starts to go down, this track starts to cool, we're going to start seeing that outside line get a little faster and faster with the grip there. But look at it now. There's a car length gap between the 57, the 09, the 24, scraping right by. He's in front of the 65 of Bland to round out our top 5 at this moment.
And still the best battle on track is between these two. John Long has used the opportunity to be the control car on the restart to open up as they fly by at a turn number 4. About 3 car lengths up on Ericsson in second position, as Hess is still trying to make the top line work, but finally Justin Bland clears him. And that number 65 machine of Bland, who is representing the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance this evening, makes the pass. We'll see if Hess goes to counter here, as he's not going to try to pass him. He'll just push him all the way down the straightaway to turn 1.
If you can't beat him, join him. And that's what he's doing right now, trying to use the 65 to get back up to the rear bumper of the 09er Riggs. But look at him behind him. I think that's the 75. Yeah, the 75 and the 90 side by side. And we got a 3-car battle back here. These guys are getting racy now that the sun's starting to go down.
Well, track temp's going to drip down just a little bit, and that'll be on hold. The yellow flag from behind. It is Steve Boyland in the 93 machine, and this was not unassisted. He got cleaned out by Matt Wood in turn 2. Matt Wood way better than Boyland was, and here it is as he drove right through that quarter panel. You can see that the 93 machine representing games done quick this evening of Boland gets turned around. That was contact with Matt Wood in the 69 machine, who is representing the PKD Foundation in his Chevy, and now with a bit of damage on board, is going to have to, I'm sure, dip to the pit lane to get that repaired. But for such a short run, do our race leaders opt to come in again? They're only been on these tires for about 8 laps or so, and even less of those have actually been under green.
Yeah, I don't know at this point, especially with how the cautions are falling. They're falling about every 8 to 15 laps. Do you take the chance, if you're Long and Ericsson, to stay out and hope that you get another caution? And if I'm Riggs and Ward, I've been racing hard back there, Bland as well, Hess, but nope, they're all coming, Evan.
And I will say, as we hit the pit lane, I don't see the sun shining on the race cars anymore, and it is lap number 40. So I'll take that all the way to the imaginary bank. Thank you very much. And look what that means. You can see the pit stall signs. The pit boards no longer have that big, bright reflection on them, so it should be easier for drivers to hit their marks. We'll see if that now limits the amount of drivers who miss their pit stalls. As we're actually side by side on pit road. Jordan Erickson alongside John Long. He wants to get that top spot back.
Really does, and this is going to be the race off of pit road. Will it be Long or Ericsson? Long had a better stop last time. And no, it's going to be Riggs. Riggs with the run off of pit road.
A lot of drivers going for the 2, Ericsson and Long side by side, and Ericsson does beat John Long off of pit road, but it is a host of 2 tire stops for Steve Luvender, Mitchell Riggs, and Justin Bland. In fact, Luvender 2 tires on his last stop, but has not pitted under this caution flag cycle. So he's only on 2 from 7-8 laps to go, but 2 tires around this time for the likes of Riggs and Bland will allow them to leapfrog some positions.
And this is the second week in a row where we're really starting to see Luvender use a little bit of strategy with these pit stops and these caution flags. He did it at Talladega, stayed out, put himself up front, almost won that second race. And here he is now, 41 laps into the race and actually, up front again.
And we'll see if Luvender, I thought maybe was just going to opt to get out front for the moment, but obviously after being involved in an incident and David basically having about a top 10 speed car after starting what was 17th, and he drove his way to 11th before we jinxed him, and he was involved in that single car incident on the backstretch. His disadvantage here is going to be the older tires, but it's not like you're taking a P30 car and throwing them up front. I mean, Luvender's had speed tonight.
Yeah, but you got to wonder, he did get a little bit of damage from that incident that he had on the backstretch with Matt Harrington, and so he does have a little bit of front-end damage. Might come into play, a little bit of right front, but yeah, I mean, it's an 8-lap run on those right-side tires, and Riggs is on 2 tires as well, but his is going to be fresher. The car that you're really going to want to see is the 88 of Jordan Erickson. He was able to beat out John Long as far as the cars that took 4 tires on that previous pit stop. So you've got Luvender, Riggs, and Bland with 2 tires. Luvender didn't come in. Riggs and Bland took 2 on this current caution, and then everybody else behind them took 4.
And that would make me believe that obviously Ericsson's in a good spot, but I think it's dependent on what happens with Luvender, because Zane, Luvender is on the inside row, and even though Ericsson would be Long off Ericsson, will be the outside of row 2. Long would be to the inside of 3. At least out of most of the restarts tonight, the inside has been the better place to restart. So with that knowledge, I would say that John Long's got a good opportunity here to be the first car on 4 tires racing down at the front. But if Luvender has a really bad start, then that's not going to matter because it would check the inside line way up. So dependent on Luvender, I think John Long may still have a fighting chance here against Ericsson, which is kind of what we'll assume to be the battle for maybe eventually the race lead. I think if this is a long green flag stretch, no doubt the 4 tires get to rise to the top. But not only in Luvender's case, how well could Mitchell Riggs do and Justin Bland? I thought that we would get more cars not pitting at all, so I'm not going to totally count out that 2-tire strategy.
No, but take a look at this, Evan. Luvender's going to elect to take the outside on this restart here.
So throw away all the analysis, forget about it, it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to rain on your parade, but Luvender, I think he's listening to you right now because he's doing exactly opposite of what you planned there.
It's at a spite, so now the benefit, I think, goes clearly in favor of John Long anyways, because, Jordan Ericsson's second in line to the control car should be able to follow Luvender here on the start, but again, you cannot pass before the start finish, unless you can find a way through down on the bottom in between lanes, but if Luvender doesn't get going and Ericsson gets stuck, then maybe it benefits John Long. It'd be a toss-up either way. First time tonight, though, we've seen the control car opt to go to the outside.
Yeah, and I want to keep my eyes on Riggs. Even though he took 2 tires, he's been strong. He's been in the top 3 all night, and this is all going to be, on Luvender. If he spins those tires, it's going to stack the field up behind him, possibly give Riggs a shot. But Long is a good car to watch. Bland in the 65 as well. But the guys with 4 tires, as we get ready to go green, that's going to be the money makers in the spotlight cars here.
And it is 3 tires for just about everybody. Position 3 on back, except with Bland there kind of tucked in the middle of all of this. The green flag, though, flies. We're back underway, and Luvender was able to get going, so it stands to benefit Jordan Ericsson. He'll swing to the inside, and at lap 44, Ericsson back to the race lead, leaving Luvender behind in P2.
Yeah, but Riggs had a wicked bad restart there, just stacked everyone up on that bottom line behind him, which is going to let the 57 now of Ward work to the inside of Luvender as they're trying to run down Ericsson going into 3.
And as they run off into quarter number 3, the inside of Ward going to be in the better spot now. That 09 Machino Riggs is trying. Going to fight his way back into all of this ahead of Long, Eckert, drivers as well, struggling off of that restart. But at the top of the board, it is Ericsson back in front. Started on a pole, and honestly, when he got passed up there on that last run, thought that might have kind of been the kink in there, the chink in the armor, if you would, because, with John Long there, he was actually, I think, pulled away for the field more than Ericsson had been when Ericsson was out front. Now, you can kind of erase all of that because Ericsson stretching an advantage over a big mess of race cars behind. Here comes Long, trying to get on the inside of Luvender, and he's done it.
Yeah, Long got around Luvender. Now he's got his eyes set on Bland in the 65. Evan, keep an eye on that 09 of Riggs. He's real tight in the corners right now. I've watched him a couple of times. Have to float the throttle just a little bit from moving up a lane and wrecking the guy on his outside. So that two-tire stop may have been, not so advantageous for him as he's having to fight a tight race car now.
And it is not what you want. I mean, having a loose race car ain't fun either, but they always say that loose is fast, and if you're plowing in the quarters here and eating up that right front tire, you're really not doing yourself any favors as the lights are on and we race into the evening here in Fontana. 5 laps away from halfway home, working lap number 46 of 100. And because of this racetrack being so big and fast, we are 3 wide inside of the top 10 with, I believe that's Lubender in the middle, Eckert on the outside, and the car down low, the 84 Robert Hill Jr. is going to be the one to back out of it.
And stuck in the middle with you is what Luvender was singing there as he was trying to hold that car straight. As these guys are now, the lights are on, people are getting racy, and I think, Evan, we may call a 4 wide before the night's over.
And just looking at this big mess of race cars is now going to go to the bottom of Luvender, or to the inside of the 90 machine, actually, of Johnny Eckert. It'll be battle right now. Oh, the 86 got tight. The 90 saw it, checked up, and Johnny Eckert is going to catch a break there, but at the expense of his own speed, because it is going to give him that spot by a big margin. And right here's the Hornet's Nest. It's Luvender backing them all up.
Yeah, Luvender backing them all up. John Wood now working to the inside. But here's the thing, is I think Eckert right now has got to get back on it because he's going to get swallowed whole here if he doesn't get back in his rhythm, because the 84 of Robert Hill Jr. now working on his bumper as the thunderstorm or hurricane is a moving behind him.
There's a whole host of cars, and they're kind of taking turns at swinging into the 19 division of Luvender here, who off for the restart has fallen to 10th now. But Brett Black, the next driver down on the bottom, trying to make the move. The number 4 car this evening, representing the Prostate Cancer Foundation. He makes the pass, and now the 75 of Dylan Gooden going to go up through the middle. His car representing the Dementia Society of America. Both of those drivers making their way on through. And Adam Harrington to the fray. The 02's done it, but he's going to be pinched down low. And man, I thought he was going to be tight, but Dylan Gooden gets away with that pinch and hangs on. The 47 of Dotson just came down on Tyler Tucker in the 55. That's the black car in the back straightaway, who went way down to the apron. And that's going to cost Tucker a ton of time.
Cost Tucker a ton of time, but these guys kept it going straight. Why we've been watching this battle just to update the fans at home. Mitchell Riggs finally got around Brandon Ward. Now he's got his eyes set on Ericsson up front. But the action back here, we got 2 wide all over the place from, I would say 12th on back.
And this is why this race has had a couple of yellows, is it's not that drivers are over their head, but when you're this close to so many race cars, basically at all times in a run, some sort of contact is inevitable, and typically you don't get away with much contact when you're doing 180 miles an hour like they are now down into turn number 3. You're watching Dylan Gooden, though, going to the inside of Matt Harrington. Going to hold him off. The 75, though, getting tight, so Harrington stays in front. Meanwhile, up the road, it is Mike Husby who's on the charge. How about the 6 car in the Canadian Cancer Society Chevrolet? Just passed up Brett Black and now going to put the move on Robert Hill Jr. for P10.
Hey, Husby's been strong all night, but there he is pushing just a little bit on the inside of the 84 of Hill. So he's going to have to lift. That's going to let the 4 Brett Black sneak up to his bumper. Now the question, does Black make it 3 wide? Or does he know he's going to give a shove to Husby down the backstretch?
He'll give him that push. We've seen that a couple of times at a drivers, David, where they have enough speed to, if they really wanted to, go for the crossover, but probably would not be sufficient to actually gain a decent positioning now, as we see Husby go to the inside of Hill, and he will get P10 this time by, and instead they just opt to give the old bump draft.
Yeah, and with this Xfinity Class B package, you know, it does have a little more freedom than the Cup car currently has at these intermediate tracks, but it is still a momentum car at the end of the day, so you still have to give a big shove. Sometimes it's best just give a bump draft down the back stretch or up the front stretch, and that would be a better play than trying to dive in with a low percentage pass.
And of course, now that the 84 machine of Hill has been moved up and off at the bottom, he's got a whole host of issues, because there goes Brett Black on through the 02 machine as well. And up even further there, you saw the 24 of Andrew Hess trying to deal with the 90 of Eckert and the 16 of John Wood. So there are battles aplenty throughout the field.
Sorry, I
and
didn't
it's
mean
done.
to scream at you.
I caught Dunn. I saw Dunn spinning.
About 6 cars involved on that. I'm trying to get a look here.
Well, this is not what you want to see. You can see right there, it's Mason Dunn coming down the track, and obviously trying to get a bit of a side draft off of Anthony Hyatt, but don't make contact on the straightaways. Hooked the 40 car into the wall, and as they spun down the bank, and there was a lot more. The 37 machine of Kyton Bommersbach involved. Tony Johns as well gets some damage. That is a high-speed incident, and right there comes the extra damage.
Yeah, and that's just a mobile roadblock right there. The 21, the 40 across the track. Everyone behind them really had nowhere to go. Some quick hands by a few drivers, and other ones just kind of ran right into the side of them. You hate to see it, but that's going to bring out, caution number 4, I think, Dave, for the night?
I believe that will mark caution number 4, yes.
I can't count that high, so I'll leave that to you guys to keep track of the caution counters. Of course, now you can see full nighttime conditions.
Tell you what, we have a graphic. It's the 5th.
There we go.
Oh,
so none of us can
technology.
count. Good to know. Yeah.
Well,
Funny how that works.
I can't count laps. I only have 10 fingers and 10 toes, so I can only go that high. So at least we have technology to keep us in line.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you can count. You got 5 fingers, right? So 5 yellows. Come on.
Well, I have 4 fingers and a thumb.
So are you? This is a different question now. So you're saying your thumb is not a finger?
Technically, it's a thumb. It's not a finger. You got a pinky finger, a ring finger, a middle finger, an index finger, and a thumb. You don't call it a thumb finger.
That'll be our Court Vision poll for the night. Is a thumb a finger?
Oh, I hope Court Stats puts that out there somewhere.
Well, I was cheating off them earlier today to learn some of the stats about Auto Club Speedway and the races that have happened here in the past with the Court National Series. It had mentioned off at the top, of course, Brett Black had been the 4-time race winner here. He's been hovering around a P10 position as your race leaders are down to the pit lane. Longer run, not expecting as much strategy on this one. Probably 4 tires and a fuel for them all, as Ericsson's got 4. Race off of pit road with a challenge, but he stays in front of Steven Taylor, who just about got him on a 2-tire decision. Just as I said, I wasn't sure if anybody was going to go for it. The FightCancer.org machine did, and he'll go to P2 after being running in 14th.
Hey, man, perks of being in that number 1 pit stall, though. Just got to barely roll off the exit to keep that spot. And Ericsson's going to keep up front in that, attack addiction Ford Mustang.
A bit tougher here as well in Fontana compared to some of the other tracks where that pit exit line where you see the cones is almost, literally right outside of that number 1 pit stall. Here you do have a little bit of ways to go, and it has caught out Jordan Erickson in the past. Of course, earlier when he got beat off of the pit lane by, I believe it was Long at the time, but has gotten himself back to the front and clearly benefited there. Just looking at the timing screen, I think just Steven Taylor, who's plus 11 on the night, is the lone driver to gamble with 2.
And also, Dave, are you, I just want to ask, is there a new broadcast area as well, or is it always on Court Vision tonight? Because I know there was talks about Mixer, and I thought there was a...
We are exclusively on twitch.tv/CourtVision for tonight's broadcast of the Court National Series 6th Annual Finish the Fight 400.
Good. I also wanted to make sure you can get a good plug in there, making you, tight on your skills as a broadcaster, since, you do this every day now.
Was that our station identification?
That was. I got it in him. Pre-joke, we were making that joke earlier before the broadcast. He's like, no, we're not doing it. We're on the internet. And I got him to do it anyways.
And if you weren't sure, there's enough court branding as well. Top right, top left, all the race cars as well with the contingency decals and whatnot. It's Court Vision, folks. It's Wednesday night. We've been here for a few weeks.
Wait, you've been here for a few weeks? What day is this?
Was that not you here last week? Was it a different Zane the Bearded one?
Well, my brain is like Parliament. There's different personalities depending on the day of the week and how stressed I am, so you never know.
If it wasn't for, like, streams and broadcasts, I probably wouldn't be aware of what day of the week it is. So I'll feel you on that one.
Likewise.
Isn't that bad when, like, your days are just blended together and you just know it based off the series you're broadcasting?
Yeah. Well, and we talk about having done this for a few weeks, David, and of course the reason you got Court Vision back up and going was to entertain the fine folks at home tuning in with us on Twitch while there was no actual on-track action, and you decided to extend the invitation to me and Zane to kind of show up and do whatever, and we've been having a lot of fun with it on Wednesdays. But as the lights go out on top of the pace car, this run may be starting to get down to the final couple of weeks here.
Yeah, and honestly, this started as 1 week thing. Like, we were only going to do this through the first week of everything being shut down, but due to demand and everything, we were like, no, let's keep going, and we've done it by ear. But I'm sad to announce, but also excited to announce for my own personal game that the Court Vision that you see here will be going away. We will be wrapping things up with the Championship Online Racing Team's broadcasts on May 15th, which will be the last IRX race on. That will actually be on iRacing.com/live, but that will be the last broadcast that we will be producing because we have accomplished what we wanted to do. We finished out, we filled the void, we finished off all the gap in between races because it appears as if NASCAR will be returning to action on May 17th at Darlington. So we've done what we needed to do. We felt the void, and our purpose is done. Our work is done here, and we will now move on to actually just enjoying our races and being that weird niche thing on Twitter.
Well, certainly, I'll be keeping up with it as it goes on, and of course, it's tonight, Fontana. Next week, May the 6th at Richmond, and then the 13th in 2 weeks from Texas for Court National Series Wednesday nights. The pace truck off it in, though, and it is Erickson on the bottom who gets way out in front. It's a good jump for the 88 Ford Mustang. He'll lead into one at lap 58, and here comes the possible challenge for second by Brandon Ward on the inside of Taylor. The no-tire call did not work well for Luvender last time. How does the two-tire call work for Stephen Taylor this time?
Taylor trying to hold out. He's got Ward behind him, Long and Mitchell Riggs. But look at Taylor being able to create a little bit of a separation between the 26 and the 57 as they're getting racy side by side for third.
Yeah, P3 on the back is kind of the log jam right here as Tony Johns is in front of it. He used the inside line on the restart to get around the 57 machine of Brandon Ward. So Ward going to trickle down to P4. But, I mean, he's not out of this battle. You can see two wide throughout the field. These cars worse, kind of packed together than they were on the initial start of this race. Look at the 09 car. Riggs pushed up just a little bit, and now the car is actually going to flock from the bottom to the outside as the Nani of Eckert followed by Bland trying to get around Riggs who had that small mistake.
And right now, here comes Long again to the inside, battling against Ward side by side, but that's going to open the door for Riggs. He's looking to take that spot away from the 57 as they come down the front stretch, but can't quite make clear the gap.
He's not able to make the difference there. So in the meantime, look at the 57 car. Ward down to the bottom of Long. He wants to dance for third on track. Brandon Ward lost this spot off the restart. He wants it back. John Long got onto the gas a little bit too early there. Checked up on exit. And it is going to give Ward the upper hand now down the back straightaway and into turn 3. Next time by and looking for 40 laps to go.
Into 3, Ward has Long beat, but here comes Riggs to the inside. Riggs has been tight most of the race. Now that the sun's down, he pushes up a little bit, but that's going to clear the space. That's going to be a side-by-side battle between the 26 to 09, and here comes Bland giving the 09 a shove as they go into 1, Evan.
He's pushing him down the front stretch and off into turn number 1, so he's going to have to back up the quarter just a little bit there in this group of cars. As you can see, Bland and others working on the bottom lane of the racetrack right now. So they flip-flop lanes. It was Bland going high. Now it's Bland on the bottom. Brandon Ward is stretched out just a little bit. You can see your top 2 as well clear of this battle, as Erickson and Taylor remain 1-2 on the racetrack. And kind of been an up and down night for Mitchell Riggs, and I know it sounds funny to say that. He started in P8, he's been P5, but he hasn't been able to kind of settle into any given position at all. He's been kind of all over the place here, and is trying to get back up front where he was earlier.
And he's been rubber banding more than the O2's connection tonight. Just from third back to sixth. Oh, I know, shots fired. I'm so sorry. I love you. Don't send me hate mail. But he's been, from third back to sixth. He started 8th, but he's been staying in that top 5, top 6 range all night. And now he's getting pressure as Bland dives to the inside of the 26. Bland not messing around.
Dive. No, I don't know if you go that late, but most of these drivers are flashing the nose. Could have had to the back stretch, at a turn 2, but he didn't even have the nose up alongside him. He threw it in there. And, of course, the harder you drive it into the corner, the more you're not going to be able to back it up. It'll hurt you on exit, but Bland able to stay side by side with the 26 machine of Longford out. In turn number 2, he's got it. So Justin Bland from 22nd on the grid at a race-high P5. Not bad.
Yeah, and take a look behind these two, though. You got the 90 and then the 16 of John Wood. Johnny Eckert and John Wood putting some battles on back there, trying to run down the 26 and the 65 as the 65 blinks just a little bit here, but that's going to let Long try to sneak back up to the bumper, but that's going to be nerve-wracking for the 26. He doesn't know where he is at certain moments on the track, and he doesn't want to have an incident happen.
And that's the tricky thing. We saw some drivers kind of back out of that earlier, not wanting to risk that. And, of course, if you're in a side-by-side battle, or even nose-to-nose with somebody, I think that's where your primary concern could be, because the race car shows up in front of you. You hook them around. Not only does it probably end their night, but it is going to end yours as well. The sun, though, no remnants of it left. It is full nighttime racing from the virtual Auto Club Speedway. We close in on the 2/3 marker of this 6th annual. Finish the fight 400. There's a big dive to the inside by John Wood. He wants P7 from Johnny Eckert.
And John Wood was strong and fast in practice and qualify, and here he is now making his way up to the top 10, trying to get down to the run to the bumper of the 26. But him and Eckert been side by side, battling it out for probably the past 5-6 laps there, Evan.
And that's the thing, is it's not as easy as catching somebody making a pass and running away, David. Here in Fontana, you make the pass, and that just means that they're going to be probably the next driver to make a move on you. I mean, you see these clusters of cars, top 6 or 7 are strung out single file, and then it's this battle for 7th on back, led right now by Wood, but for how long? He's basically trying to block 2 lanes worth of the racetrack.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you get around the guy, and then you give him a draft, and they're just able to suck right back up to you. So it's really difficult to finally complete a pass and then pull away. You really need to have a third car to really kind of work traffic on you, kind of like a pick and roll in basketball, where you kind of use the other car as a pick, try and divert their resources on trying to reel you in by having that car pull a pick on you, and then you can roll away from them.
And right now, watching the 90 car of Johnny Eckert. He's the first one up on the outside, going way wide that time to 4, as James Gutta has been able to get through down on the bottom. Gutta representing Planned Parenthood and Every Town this evening on his 86 Toyota, and makes the pass for the moment. Another driver we've talked a lot about, Mike Husby, though, behind him. Got a little bit tight that time, and we mentioned the bumps when we were under yellow earlier. It's not even just on the backstretch. All over the racetrack, you can see these race cars getting rocked around.
Yeah, and we Dave, you made the comment, the pick and roll, and right now Mike Husby, the White Mamba, really using that to his advantage, keeping the 90 of Johnny Eckert on the outside. He can't get to that bottom groove, and he's using every bit of the track right now he can. He wiggled a little bit through the corners, but now he's starting to run him back down here, trying to get down to the bumper of the 86 of Gutta.
Yeah, he's doing that exactly, and that's what he did. He was able to use the 4-car of Brett Black, who was also trying to get around Eckert, and now it looks as if, and you see it right there at the back side of your screen, you saw Brett Black try and complete the pass, but because he didn't have another car there giving him a little bit of a draft, Eckert was able to gain on him and pull away.
You can see Eckert down trying to work that draft off the back of the 4, but wasn't able to follow him down into the corner, courtesy of Dylan Gooden on the bottom. The 75 car makes the pass. That is Gooden on the bottom. Oh, and the 90 car of Eckert, the huge dive as there's a battle in front there. There's the 90 car of Eckert down nearly in the grass as he took a big slide at a turn 4 up the road, though. The fight we're watching is for third. And you can see that Mitchell Riggs, the 09 machine, just now clearing Stephen Taylor for that spot. Next up would be Brandon Ward in P2.
And I've been watching these battles. We've been bouncing between, the top 10 and this top 4. I've been watching these top 4. They were less than half a second between each other. And now they're starting a little accordion move, spreading out. But Mitchell Riggs has been a man on a mission this last run and working his way back up to third, trying to run down the 57 of Ward, but take a little further back, just a little bit. There's John Long in that 26, still creeping around in 5th place, right behind Stephen Taylor. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing stays green. It's going to be the 88, the 09, and the 26 battling out for a win.
And we see the battle for 4th here with Taylor on back, but according to my timing and scoring, everything is a battle for position. It likes to kind of highlight where it thinks there's a battle, and it'll group groups of 2 or 3 cars together. Right now, the entire field is lit up because there is not a ton of separation as we watch Taylor now trying to get back down on the bottom of Riggs, who I thought was going to coattail this move to P3 into a battle with Ward for second, but he's actually dropped back just a little bit, and Erickson desperately trying to get away has been on cruise control up front, David, and as we work with the longer runs of the night now, 16 laps since these drivers made pit stops. I know Erickson's advantage, you can see from the high shot there, only about 3-4 car lengths. Any sort of small mistake would totally evaporate that as they work around some traffic on the bottom. The 40 of Anthony Hyatt going to go down a lap.
Yeah, and that's going to be really interesting to see because Brandon Ward tends to be a better driver on the long runs. So we'll see if Ward can actually, if he saved his tires at the beginning of this run. They both put it at the same time, but Ward has run faster lap times the last few laps. He actually ran 3/10 slower that lap, so what do I know? But Erickson will have to definitely keep an eye on Ward. He is a much better driver on long runs, so we'll see how this goes.
It's, wouldn't be the first time that we mentioned something, Zane, and they immediately did the opposite.
It seems like it's how this season's worked for us. Road America, we caused about 16 drivers a wreck. You kind of predicted the restart. Luvender said, you know what? I got this, Big Haas. I'm going to take the outside because you said I'm going to take the inside. And now drivers are just slowing down their lap times. But I got to say, Evan, the battles on the track have been intense all over the place here tonight. And it's really fun to see these guys finish the fight under the lights on a Wednesday night here at Fontana, or should we call it Daytona, since that's what we said we were going to do because it's all CG movie magic here to make Daytona look like Fontana. But look at this battle. Look at John Wood in the 16. He's moving his way up through the field right now, and we got about a 5-car race up here for 4th almost.
And a caution flag down, going to fly out number 73. The 69 machine is off and in the grass. That is Matt Wood, who's going to be okay. That one did not trigger an automatic caution. That one coming down from the tower because there were multiple drivers involved. Check this out. It's going to be Matt Wood on the outside. Jeffrey Miller's 13 in the middle. And Chris Sweat on the inside. And they're all going to come together at a turn 4. All because that 69 of Wood had to check up and kind of accordioned into those 2 down on his inside. And a couple of them, they just about got shish kebabbed on that pit road wall. So I think they're very fortunate to be all right minus a bit of damage.
And we're really starting to see, I think, where these cars are going to get tight. That PK Foundation machine of Matt Wood just pushed up the track, scraped that outside wall, and then just, an accordion effect, nowhere to go, bumper to bumper, side to side. But as these temperatures start to drop, Evan, we've seen a couple of these guys get real tight and start to push up the track and have to lift a little bit more than they expected from the start of the race.
This will lead us once more to pit stops as the changing conditions in the sim continues to change the track, and therefore these drivers having to modify how they get around this place. 74 laps going to be complete this next time around. Pit stops once more. Inside, though, of 30 to go. I still think we're at the point where these drivers will continue to pit on any ensuing yellows, but every time Jordan Erickson comes down pit road, David, he has to be thinking about that one time out of all the trips down in which he did not win the race off of the pit lane, and it looked like he was not able to pass up front. I think the 88 car needs this track position because you don't want to make your life a lot harder on yourself without reason.
Yeah, he's going to really need to make sure that he gets a good pit stop here because this might be the last stop of the race. They can make it on fuel from here, so they're going to. Oh, and he overshot his stall. So Erickson overshot his stall slightly. That might be all the difference for Brandon Ward, who was really on his back bumper going into the pit lane and on that previous run. So we'll see how it shakes out.
And it is going to be by a country mile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars ahead of Jordan Erickson, as it is Ward off first. All 4 tires for Ward, Riggs, Taylor, Long, Bland, Gutta, Wood, and then Jordan Erickson, who timing is going to show in the number 9 position, and that is because the 13 of Jeffrey Miller did not come to pit road that time by. He may still do so in the hashtag Chefs for America World Central Kitchen car, and with damage, wouldn't be surprised if he does decide to come down to the pit lane, but right on cue, I talk about what the driver does not want to happen, and it is a worst-case scenario that's going to drop Erickson back, I think, the deepest in the pack he's been all night.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing, though, is who would have thought, coming to Fontana, that the biggest issue would have been pit road for these drivers? All season long, they've been hitting their marks.
It's not a noted difficult road either. I mean, we saw, and all the pit stops as well have been under caution flying conditions, so I guess the actual layout of the pit stalls, pit lane isn't that critical. It's more so, I think the sun was kind of wreaking havoc early, but when you think of difficult pit lanes, you think of somewhere like Dover, where this past, and in fact last night with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, had a lot of drivers struggling under green to get down and into the pit lane, but tonight has not been the issues with speeding, getting on or getting off. It's just been executing in the stalls that has kind of hindered these guys.
Yeah, and I think Erickson, a little bit of nerves possibly got to him. He knew this was probably going to be the last stop of the night. He had to be perfect, and just a mental slip overdrives those stalls. And you had Husby earlier. Totally couldn't see his pit stop as we watched that replay from earlier where the glare was so bad off the pit signs that he just could not see the number. Here you don't have that now. The lights are on, the sun's away. It's just a mental collapse for our race leader to put himself back in, 8th, 9th position on this final restart possibly?
Yeah, your pole sitter is going to end up in position 8 for this one. And, you had just mentioned, David, that they're going to be good to go on fuel to the end here. If we get another yellow, I still suspect drivers going to want tires, but that number 1 pit stall can maybe, get Jordan Erickson a spot or 2 when you're kind of pitted back in traffic. He's going to have to get a lot of work done here off of the restart if he wants any hopes at fighting for the race win in the race that he's dominated so far.
Yeah, but, that's barring he hits his marks. I mean, he missed his marks and he lost 7 spots, so it's very important. Pit road entry is such an important and underrated aspect of this. And like you mentioned last night, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, the defending champion of that series, Zach Novak, lost it on entry to the pit lane. And granted, that's Dover. This is Fontana. Not quite the same. Not quite a difficult pit road. This is one of the easier pit roads of the season. So to see these guys struggling with the pit road, either by the sun conditions, but quite frankly, they got no excuse right now. The lights are down, or the lights are on. The sun's down. There's no glare. The only glare you're getting is from the Musco lighting. So a real bad mistake by Erickson might end up costing him the one saving grace. It's not with 2 to go. It's with 23 to go. So he should be able to possibly move his way through the field.
It just goes
say,
to show you
go ahead.
that anybody could make mistakes as well. Zane, he mentioned defending champion in the Coke Series Novak making a mistake. We also saw the points leader this year, Bobby Zelensky, make a mistake. And tonight it's Jordan Erickson, the best car all night, who makes the mistake. So that could happen to anybody, no matter how good you are.
I'll say also, Ericsson's got one out, and that's he can blame Evan.
That's true. I think that's a valid one as well.
You did call him out, but just before we go green, if another pit stop comes out or caution comes out, you take in 2 or 4 tires if you got to go down pit road.
I still think we're going to see 4. I think that these drivers have been privy to the fresh tires, and Brandon Ward's going to try to enjoy that clean air up front for the first time tonight, because we are back underway with 23 laps to go. Ward leads to turn 1. The fight's going to be for second. Mitchell Riggs clear of a 3-wide exchange for third, and they are nearly into each other as it's Steven Taylor sandwiched in the middle. Look at the move, though, by James Gutta on the bottom. He almost cleared all of them.
He almost cleared all of them and almost got to a 4-wide situation. It went to 65 to 42 to 26 in the 86. But right now, this is going to be Riggs' moment to shine. But look at Ericsson making the ground up after slipping up on pit road. Move him up to 4th. Now he's working on the bumper as they're getting a little squirrely back behind him.
They were 4 wide that time off of the quarter after Steven Taylor bobbled, got into Gutta, and just about took him out. It was a great piece of driving by both the 86 and the 42 to hang on to their race cars. Oh, and now more 4 wide at a turn 2 this time, as it's the 6 of Husby on the bottom, the 16 of John Wood. Oh, and there's a
75.
spinner in the 75. How'd he save that car?
Oh, hope and a prayer, but here's the thing, is he pushed up into the 16 of Wood. I think John had enough of it, gave him a little bit of a side bump, and he kept it going straight, but he's fallen back like a rock, like a Lakahatchee.
I think he just wanted out of there, and I'm amazed that 75 of Dylan Gooden did erect that race car. He was about 30 degrees pointed to the inside fence, hangs on, and again, we stay green. But it is Jordan Erickson on the charge, restarted in position 8, and is right now trying to work over Justin Bland for P3, but a caution from way behind. Chris Sweat, I believe, in the 28 machine. And the replay will show it is a battle for position. Check this out, side by side with the 11 car, but it was the hit from behind, courtesy of, was that Nick Stahl or no, the 93 actually of Steve Boylan.
That's a rough shot right there coming out of the exit of the 2 there to bring out that caution, but Evan, this is going to stack them back up with about probably, 17, 15 laps to go?
Yeah, well, by the time we restart this, I think we'll be closer to 15 laps to go, and I don't think that pit stops happen this time. You know, the stats will say they have 6 laps on the tires, but it's about 2 laps of which was actually under green flag conditions. I'm more so thinking, if we're going to see pit stops, it has to be in and around lap 90, because I think that would be enough laps removed from the last, trip down to the pit lane that the tires have fallen off enough that you would have a benefit to get fresh rubber, while also leaving enough time left in the race when we would restart to actually use the tires. If we wreck with 2 to go, I'm not sure drivers are going to go for the tires. The thing is that, David, it's a big racetrack, so even in a single lap, you have a lot of time to use them, and they're going to fake it out. Brandon Ward, that would have shocked me if they came down pit road. I saw at least one of them in from up front, but a majority of your field opting to stay out. Davis, Warren, Tyler Tucker, some of the names that did decide to pit.
Yeah, and, going back to that was not a good stretch for the team that I'm actually a part of when I actually race in this CORT National Series, the All Elite Racing Organization. Not only did Dylan Gooden kind of get door checked, and I think that might have been a receipt for a little bit of contact in turn 2 the lap prior with John Wood. Not only that, but Steve Boylan in the 93 got into the back of Chris Sweat of the 28 to bring out that caution, so not exactly a really nice stretch for the team that I'll be rejoining in a few weeks.
So, Dave, when this... Oh, go ahead, Evan. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I would have been shocked that those drivers came down to the pit lane. So for the first time tonight, something that I kind of thought out loud about actually happened. So I was just happy about that.
Well, I was gonna say, here's the thing though, is you gotta hope a caution comes out, right? If the caution doesn't come out, I don't expect anyone to make a green flag stop. They're gonna just run the tires to the cords. So that was your opportunity. If we roll the dice and look at the tea leaves, if a caution doesn't come out, that would have been your last shot to get a little bit of extra rubber to run it to the end. But Dave, are you gonna miss it in the booth, in the next 2 weeks after we're all said and done and you're back in the driver's seat, sweating it out, wearing that virtual fire suit and not being in the AC booth?
I mean, a little bit, but I actually took a part-time role last season in the fall, and the goal was to be full-time this season, and then this all happened. So I really just want to race a full season. Like, I really do. It's almost been a year, so I'll look forward to it. I will miss how much fun we've had on Wednesday nights. Honestly, I'm not trying to be sappy, but legitimately, we've had a blast calling these races, and we got 2 more. So hopefully, we can have 2 more fun broadcasts. But yeah, I will miss doing these races. I'll miss the reaching out to everybody and providing this for everybody. But we will have served our purpose. So we will move on to doing what we normally do.
Me and Evan get the Michael Waltrip provisional, right? We can race on Wednesday nights now.
You'll have to talk to series director Aaron Bean about that, because I am not in charge, despite popular opinion.
That's a no. I think that's a no.
That was a nice no. That was like, let's throw Aaron under the bus here to make him the bad guy.
No,
David,
Aaron,
I was beating up on you earlier about how you would get back out there and try to fight for some top 30s. So I promise you, it would be better than what I would do. So,
well, I'll just say this: Aaron Bean, though, he's been awesome, and he's actually part of the reason he's been the biggest defender of me when it comes to. He is not an admin anymore. He's just a guy. So please stop asking him about these things.
And the social media guy.
Yeah,
for one of the many CORT Twitter accounts.
Yeah,
more
kind
CORT
of
Twitter accounts than
us.
NASCAR.
It's kind of a running joke with us. We don't have one Twitter. Well, we're trying to do one Twitter account, but it's just everyone follows CORT Nat Series on Twitter, and we appreciate it very much.
Well, you got what? You got CORT Nat Series, you got CORTy Images, you got CORT Stats. What else, Dave?
We got the CORT MH Design Series, which is CORT Tuesday on Twitter, and then we have the CORT Supercars on Twitter, which is CORT Supercars. And then we have the CORT World Series on Twitter, which is making a return with the Indianapolis 500K in which, by the way, qualifying for that will be on Tuesday here on CORT Vision, so look forward to that, and the race itself on May 12th. So you can follow that there. Basically, if you search CORT, likely something's about to pop up for you.
The lights are off, fellas. We're about to go green flag racing with they're going to go 15 to go, man, once we go green flag.
It's kind of crunch time. We've been talking about that bit of pit strategy in there, and honestly, the complexion of the field has changed a lot tonight. You got somebody like a Justin Bland who started 22nd. He's up to 3rd. How about talking about Aaron Bean? He's the top 10 car, first time tonight. In front of him, Chad Holmes, 38th to P9. But a lot of drivers have made big moves to this point. But now is the time to finish this one out. It'll be a restart with 16 laps to go for the virtual Auto Club Speedway. Front row will see Brandon Ward in the 57 once again elect to start on the outside. So that would put Mitchell Riggs to the inside in 2nd. Justin Bland is 3rd. And Jordan Erickson, the best car so far tonight, behind the race leader on the outside of row 2 in P4. Pace truck down and in, green flag flies, and look at the jump for the outside. Not only does Ward lead to turn 1, but Jordan Erickson latched onto the bumper. He'll go to P2.
It was like deja vu when Luvender started on the outside. Erickson timed the restart perfectly, got himself up and around Riggs. Riggs again stacking up the field. That's going to let Mike Husby in the 06 get to his outside. But now it's going to be that battle between Ward and Erickson.
And I got to think, just looking back at this race, we've seen challenges for the race lead to come out for the restarts, but that clean air being such an advantage, I don't know if we've seen really a pass for the lead under green flag proper racing conditions tonight. It's been the mistakes on pit road and the drivers, just nailing pit stalls that have been able to get around Ericsson before. That's how he lost the race lead earlier after a blistering 4-second stop, early in this race. And since then, it was a mistake that cost him the very top position. So if I'm Brandon Ward, I'm going to be feeling pretty good about this, but cautiously optimistic, I would say, because I can never get too comfy when somebody like Ericsson and then Riggs talk about a 1-2 punch. Oh, and a spin behind the back straightaway. A couple of cars around, and it will bring a yellow. One of them was Tyler Tucker.
Oh, 19. That's going to bring out the caution, Evan. So this changes that whole face of the race right now. You're right around that window you talked about. Hey, if we get close to lap 90, I may come down pit road again. You think we're going to have any takers?
If we went 10 laps, and you'll see the replay here, it's going to be Lubender at a 2 who pushes up, and the 70 car of Warren wasn't as high as I thought he was expecting, and he bounced off of him, came down, took out Tyler Tucker, and those are the 2 that spun onto the apron on the back straightaway. Honestly, if we ran, 10 laps from the last time we saw kind of universal pit stops, yeah, I'd come down to pit road. This is kind of that magic number in that window where it would benefit you to the end. But because it's stop and start, and if I'm Brandon Warren, I love the track position so much, I don't know if I do it.
What about the guys? I think Ericsson's going to stay out. Riggs is going to stay out. Husby in that 6 car definitely going to stay out. But these guys a little further back, the Brett Blacks, the Chad Holmes, the Guttas, the John Woods, they take the gamble and go down and get 4 fresh tires. It's going to change kind of the shakeup and the makeup of the race. And look at Riggs. Riggs making he fixed it out again.
He was so close. And honestly, I wouldn't have been shocked if he was going to do that, because the concern, if you're Brandon Ward, is that if you pit, everybody can stay out, and if you stay out, everybody can pit. And for a moment there, I thought it was just going to be Ward and Ericsson staying out. And honestly, if Mitchell Riggs had everybody follow him down to the pit lane like it looked like they were going to, I think that move could have won Mitchell Riggs this race. Instead, he bails, and then everybody else did as well. We didn't have pit stops until you get back into the high 20s.
Yeah, and here's an interesting piece right now too. When we go green flag racing, Evan, it's going to be the 57 of Ward, the 88 of Ericsson. If you're Ward, does he put himself on the outside again, or does he keep himself on that inside line? We know Ericsson was able to time that last restart, put himself right on the bumper to put himself to second. I don't know if you're going to be able to sneak it past Ericsson. He's been on point with these restarts since he's been back here in the pack.
It's tricky because I think my concern is obviously I just need a lead to turn 1. I think that if I don't get a car inside of me into 1, I have a really good shot, about an 85% chance of winning this race. So my main concern is Jordan Ericsson. And that's nothing against Mitchell Riggs, of course, who is a multi-time race winner this season. In fact, the only driver to win 3. He just hasn't had that little bit more like Jordan Ericsson has. So if I could make second and third fight with each other, then that's going to be great. So if I'm Ward, I want to start on the bottom, just because that'll give Mitchell Riggs a better jump, and it'll bring Riggs alongside Ericsson, and I want them to go side by side. If I start up top, I don't think that happens, and maybe you're able to get a better jump ahead of Husby. So I think Ward, either way, is going to try to let that car behind him get a little bit of a heads up and leave a fight for second, because if you're clear to 1, I think you're pretty much golden.
See, and I agree with you on some of that, but my problem right now is we've watched Riggs these past couple of restarts spin the tires and stack the field up. He's got to be focused on this possibly final restart of the night here if he wants a shot to win this race. But he has not done it the past 2 restarts. He's just either fallen asleep behind the wheel, maybe texting and driving, who knows? But he's got to keep his eye out, because he can't have that situation where he just gets swallowed up and has to drive away from the guys behind him.
Well, they pace behind the truck now, and again, I think this is the first time this evening that we have gone 2 caution flag cycles without the race leader opting to come down to the pit lane. And as well, race control. We talked about Aaron Bean overseeing all of this, just announcing that as we get inside of the final 10 laps of this race, that all of the restarts from this point on would be double file. David, as well as getting close to maybe having a yellow near our scheduled distance of 100 laps.
And we'll go ahead and refresh everybody on the CORT overtime rules. That's a very nice segue. The Championship Online Racing teams on oval events will have the ability to have 2 green, white checker, or overtime finishes, and only 2. If we get 2 and the yellow flag comes out during it, that will be the end of the event.
So we may race as many as 110 laps should it be necessary to get both of those attempts. And again, timing of all of this very critical. And as the lights go out on top of the pace car, we will be left with a 10 lap to go run. So admittedly, the caution flag cycles here, Zane, at Auto Club, not the longest as well, so that buys us a little bit extra. We could still have a yellow after this restart and then a restart within regulation, I think, pretty comfortably. Of course, Brandon Ward would love for it to go green and race itself out, but if Ericsson and Riggs, if they don't get it on the restart here, I think they're immediately going to be begging for another yellow and a restart. I just don't see them having something 2-3 laps into a run. I'd love to be surprised, but again, I think if Ward focuses on the restart here, he's going to be in a very good spot.
And I agree with you, Evan, and I think, honestly, the 88 of Ericsson is going to have to hashtag send it going into the corner. I think we've only seen one driver do it, and that was the 57 earlier in the race, where he threw it going into 3, dove bomb it, and now we're going to have to see if the 88 can do it himself to get around that 57. And like we talked about earlier, Riggs has got to stay awake, and he's got to get on the gas quick if he wants to have a chance for the lead, because he's got the white mamba, Mike Husby, sitting on his outside. You know Husby's not going to play around.
They're scrubbing the tires, getting ready to rock and roll for what could be the final time tonight from Fontana. Pace truck down it in, and the field is in the hands of the 57 car. That is Brandon Ward up front in his Alzheimer's Association Chevy. Green flag in the air. We're back underway for the final 10 laps of the finish, the fight 400. Ward clear to turn 1, and there's that so important fight behind him for second. Just like I thought he'd try, he set Mitchell Riggs up with a fight with Ericsson.
Yeah, and Riggs really got time that restart perfectly. Side-by-side battle for second. Behind them, they're a little 3 wide over the track. But look, Ericsson's got a nose. Can't quite clear him as they go into 2 or 3. That's going to leave him on the outside. Will the momentum help the 88 as they come off the 4, Evan?
And it is going to work for the 09 on the inside. And Mitchell Riggs gets the spot. He moves to second. Now here comes Husby trying to look to the inside of Ericsson. Unable to do so. Side by side throughout the pack. At that time by was 9 laps to go. And it is really a group of cars for second on back. Ward, a 3-car length advantage over the rest of them. Can Riggs maybe pull something out of the hat and go for the 4th win this season? Can Ericsson fight back, or is Brandon Ward going to maintain? He wants all of that craziness you see back of the pack to keep it easy, because he wants this one to go to the end.
Ward is like Emperor Palpatine right now up front, looking in his rearview mirror going, yes, yes, do my bidding, battle it out. Because as long as these guys race and battle, it's going to let him create more separation. But I think Ericsson and Riggs have gotten the memo, because now look at Riggs on the bumper of Ward as we go into 1.
He is all over him in the battle for the race lead. Ericsson as well sits a shotgun on this for 3rd, but he wants to fight for 2nd. This could be big for Ward because Riggs pushed up at a turn 2, and here is Ericsson down the bottom. We're going to go side by side for 2nd. And that distracts both of these cars from that car running P1. Jordan Ericsson, low lane. He takes 2nd place back.
A little bit of a slide job with Ericsson coming off a 4, but look at Ward. He's got a 3 car length gap. Ericsson needs to get in the draft if he's going to suck up to that bumper, but he needs the clean air. We've noticed all night, Evan, the clean air has been the dominant air. When you're behind a guy, you can't get the drive off. You get tight, you push a little bit. but look at the separation. Ward again looking in the rearview mirror saying, please battle it out for me. Let me get through these last 6 laps.
And I was shocked when we saw Riggs get up there and onto the bumper of Ward for the race lead, but again, it disappeared just as quickly as it showed up after Ericsson went across the back. And does Jordan Ericsson have enough to close in what right now is about a 5 or 4 car length disadvantage? Some separation for your front runners. We are single file through the top 20 right now. Couple of cars looking high, looking low, but we don't have any actual side-by-side until you get back in the second half of the field. And let's ride on board here with Riggs running in third position. Going to chase down Ericsson. P2 may be all that's attainable now.
He's going to have to throw it in there, but the gap of separation is starting to get larger and larger as these laps are starting to wind down from the 09 to the 88 here. As they're battling out, and behind them you have the 65 and the 6 rounding out your top 5, but everyone's still trying to run down Brandon Ward. I don't think there's going to be enough time in this race to get to him. And then Evan, if you get to the 57, do you have the tires to make the pass?
And that's the thing, is they're now pushing it just a little bit. Drivers opting not to go for tires when maybe earlier in this race they would have, instead to protect track position. But as well, the latest into the night we've been, obviously, track temps down to a cool 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This racetrack probably has got the most amount of grip in it all night long. So bad tires, but a good racetrack right now. And Jordan Ericsson, that last time by, better than Brandon Ward up front. Your race leader now starting to snake on the straightaway to break the draft. His last time, a 42.2. It was a 1.82 for Ericsson. He's a bit better with 4 laps to go. Can he keep it up?
Ericsson like an angler right now, trying to wrangle in the 57. The 57, you can almost look at him like a swordfish. Moves to the, look at him, moving to the middle of the track, back up to the top of the track. He's got to try to create as much separation to cut the draft. As we go into 3, though, Ericsson's sneaking right back up about a car length away, Evan, as we come off of 4.
And that was a great angle as well to look at all the bumps down the backstretch. Ericsson pulling away just a bit from Riggs as he is securely in the wake of that 57 Chevy in front. Couple of cars behind using the apron, trying to get some spots as there is battles all throughout the lead pack that is still 32 cars strong. With the battle for the race win here, David, is big. Could Brandon Ward maybe get this thing done?
Well, it was really close that time. Brandon Ward ran a 286. Jordan Ericsson ran a 285. They are going for it. It's a heavyweight title fight in Tinseltown.
They're basically going blow for blow with each other here. This time by, going to be looking for the popsicle sticks in the air and 2 laps to go. But Jordan Ericsson needs a little bit extra. Not only does he need to get that extra car length to get onto the bumper of the 57, but then he needs a plan of attack when he gets there. Does he fly to the inside with a late dive? Does he try to back up the quarter, maybe force Brandon Ward into a mistake? You can't really afford to overthink this, but with the limited time remaining, Zane, he doesn't have time to make it pretty either. He's got to do whatever he can, and Riggs in third now. Close it as well, but here comes Ericsson within a half a car length now for the race lead.
Ericsson on the attack, and that attack addiction Ford Mustang as we go into 3. But look at Riggs sneaking back up. These guys, oh, and here comes Ericsson to the bumper, but not enough to get around him or make a move as we come off of 4. Is he going to dive into the apron, Evan, as we hit the stripe?
And if there's contact, to watch Riggs from behind. The white flag in the air. Final time from Fontana. Ericsson looks high. He's going to go to the outside on Brandon Ward for the lead. He got a nose there, but now he tucks back in line. Final time at a turn 2.
Down the backstretch, it's still Ward leading Ericsson. Ericsson looks to the inside. Riggs now giving a shot to Ericsson. It's a 2-car tangle as they try to get around the 57, but the 57 still has it as they go into 3.
A lot of speed into turn number 3, but Jordan Ericsson's going to back it up. He'll drive it into the bumper one final time, but it's not going to be enough. And Brandon Ward hangs on. He'll get his first win of 2020. Fontana belongs to the 57 of Brandon Ward.
Woo, what a finish, Evan. Wow.
I thought Ericsson had it at that 2 to go, and in fact, on the last lap, he got a look to the outside. David wasn't able to make it stick, tucked back in line, and even with the assist from Mitchell Riggs, not enough in that final set of quarters. And Brandon Ward, representing the Alzheimer's Association, takes home the 6th annual Finish the Fight 400.
Yeah, that was some fun stuff. A 10-lap battle to the victory for Brandon Ward, and he really had to work hard to hang on to it. And I know he had help from the dirty air coming off his car and whatnot, but Mitchell Riggs and Jordan Erickson were all over the back bumper of that 57. So congrats to Brandon Ward. He wins one of the CORT's major events, and he's got to be very happy with this one because he had to work for it there at the end. This was not like a closer coming in with a 3-run lead, finishing, just shutting the door. He had a high-pressure situation with Erickson and Riggs right behind him on that one, and he held the he got it done.
And he's going to celebrate on the front straightaway, and rightfully so, as he came into tonight as one of the top drivers so far this season. Of course, Ward was 4th in the championship without a win, but with 5 top 5s to his name in 9 starts. And finally, he breaks into victory lane, Zane, and he does it at a racetrack that he can actually do some burnouts in victory lane at.
Yeah, and here I'm still flabbergasted by that last lap. I really thought Erickson was going to get Ward when Riggs gave him the shot down the backstretch, but man, Ward bringing it home. It's a great finish for him for a great event to finish the fight. This is my first time calling this race, and Dave, you guys put on a heck of a show tonight here for CORT National Series.
Well, we have prize fights. What can I say?
Well, let's take a look at your full race results tonight from this one. David mentioned that it was not an easy race, not one that you could put R.J. Dickey onto the mound for and finish it out. You had to bring in the real closer, and Brandon Ward gets the job done. Atop Jordan Erickson second, and Mitchell Riggs in third, who we'll try to catch up with in just a few moments. Justin Blandon and Mike Husby, the rest of your top 5, with Brett Black, John Long, Chad Holmes, John Wood, and Johnny Eckert, your top 10.
Evan Bingle bringing home 11th. Davis Warren behind him. Robert Hill Jr. 13th. Dylan Gooden was 14th. Philip Clark behind him. James got a good run. He started 15th, came home 16th. Julian Medor 39th to bring home, 20. I'm so lost right now. There we go. 26 came home 17th. Alex Ripstein 18th. Tyler Tucker. And then Matt Wood, who had a rough race all night, is going to round out your top 20.
And continue it on through 21st for Jeffrey Miller. The rookie Roger Espinosa, who started at the back, jumps to 22nd. But Tony Johns, Johnson Director, and Matt Harrington through P25. You've also got Steve Boyland along with John Wilco, Aaron Bean, and Stephen Taylor. Atop Anthony Hyatt, P30, as one of the final cars to finish on the lead lap. All capped off there, Zane, by Andrew Hess, 31st. Final one actually on the lead lap.
Yeah, and then behind him was DeMott Dotson with 1 lap down, Patrick Lindsay, Steve Luvender in the 19, Mason Dunn, Nick Stoller, Chris Sweat, Caton Bomberbach, Jake Finch, and Jeff Gross finishing it out last, 92 laps down, had a rough race at the beginning of the race, and bowed out early in that 97.
To look top to bottom at your full race results tonight in the Finish the Fight 400, and an opportunity now to catch up with Mitchell Riggs. David, you got the radio with the 09?
Yeah, Mitchell Riggs there was running up front all night, never lower than 8th tonight, and in one of CORT's major events comes home with a 3rd-place finish. Mitchell, more importantly, in the grand scheme of things, you leave here with a solid 3rd-place finish after missing the show at Talladega and missing those 2 races. How important was it to leave here with a good finish to get your season back on track?
Yeah, definitely missing those 2 dual races put us behind the 8 ball for sure, but I came in tonight thinking we just need to get a solid finish. We don't need to wipe ourselves out, and that's what we did. We got 3rd.
You come in here and you get to this last 10-lap run, and you're battling hard with Jordan Erickson, the defending Cup Series champion, and Brandon Ward, who's a good driver in his own right. How difficult was it to kind of to get around? We saw that drivers were struggling to get around the leader all night. Did it come a point where you just felt resigned to helping to try and get Erickson by, or did you think you still had a shot at it?
Well, I mean, I was gonna try to help whoever was in second as much as I could. There was a point on the backstretch there on the last lap where I actually started pushing him, pushing Erickson to try to get him up beside B Ward because I figured if they're battling, that's just gonna help me even more. But it didn't work out. But third place is not anything to hang your hat on, so or not anything to complain about. So good run.
And lastly, it is the Finish the Fight 400. You had a charity on the car. You had the Disabled American Veterans, I believe, was on the car for the '09 machine tonight. You got a little bit that you can tell us about that organization?
Well, it's just their 100th anniversary, a century of being a service to veterans. We have a real problem in America right now with veterans not getting the support and help they need when they come back home. So it was an honor for me to help these guys out.
And Mitchell Riggs here. Anybody you want to give a quick shout out to for this third place finish?
I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the league because tonight was really fun. All the guys that were in my TeamSpeak channel and racing with me, and definitely those two guys that finished in front of me. That was some fun racing.
Alrighty, that's Mitchell Riggs with our third place finish here tonight, and I'll throw it over to Zane, who's caught up with the driver who finished second tonight, Jordan Erickson in the 88.
I'm here with the 88 driver, Jordan Erickson. Jordan, you came into the race here sitting third in points. You almost had a chance for a third win on the season. Started on pole, but you had a little bit of issues on pit road. What happened going down there under the lights on that final pit stop?
So I was trying to uncheck my tear off because sometimes it'll be like your pit stop will be a little bit delayed, and then I just overshot the pit stall. Ended up coming out ninth, I guess. And drove back up there. It was a good race overall. Really wish we could have got some green flag runs. Me and Brandon and a few of the guys tested a little bit to try to figure out long run speed, and I think we had good long run speed as well. Obviously, we had pretty good short run speed, but just unfortunate we didn't get long green flag runs.
Yeah, and talk about a little bit how difficult it was to make those passes in that dirty air. We saw a few times you would get to the bumper of Brandon Ward, but it seems like you just couldn't make the pass or get the run. How difficult was it back there?
Yeah, so driving up from ninth wasn't that bad because I got a pretty decent restart, and then something happened in front of me that guys ended up 3 wide, so I passed a bunch of them there. And then on the following restart, I got behind Brandon, and we kind of helped each other on the restarts, and I got around him there. But then at the end, Brandon and I were just so evenly matched all night. I think that no matter who got in front there at the end would have had a difficult time passing. I thought I could have made a run at him, but then me and him were talking just a second ago, and I got a run to his outside, and I probably shouldn't have taken the outside, but I was also a little bit afraid if I didn't do that, that Mitchell was going to get me, so I was kind of in a rock and a hard place. But yeah, dirty air was pretty bad tonight. Setup was tight, and that doesn't necessarily help when you also have dirty air combined in there.
Yeah, and tonight you were on the attack in the last couple of laps. Your paint scheme for the '88 Ford Mustang was Attack Addiction. Can you talk a little bit about what that charity is in that group?
Yeah, so Attack Addiction is a nonprofit based out of Delaware. My wife and her parents and my wife's family is very involved in that kind of stuff. And they had an unfortunate situation in their family that resulted in them being a very large supporter of Attack Addiction. They're very big in trying to push the Good Samaritan law in states that don't have it. And if you don't know, the Good Samaritan law is a law where if somebody is incapacitated due to a drug overdose, that if you call the police, you don't get, if you're calling the police, you won't get in trouble, so to speak, if you save somebody's life. Yeah, it's a charity that I've run the past couple years, and it's close to my family, so it means a lot. Would have liked to get in the victory lane, but that's okay.
Hey, you had a hell of a drive tonight in that Attack Addiction 88. Is there anyone you want to thank for bringing home the second place finish?
I'd like to thank Brandon for racing clean and racing. We raced really good all night. Mitchell Riggs, we raced really good there too. And then everybody on TeamSpeak, Jim, John, Turbo, Jeff, all the guys, and Brett. Just thanks for helping out.
Well, Evan, that was your second place finisher, Jordan Erickson. He was on the attack, and he's attacking Addiction with that '88 Ford Mustang. Now to you.
He had a real good night tonight, but in the end, it is Brandon Ward who is in a victory lane tonight at the Virtual Auto Club Speedway, and we are chatting with the driver of the number 57 machine now. Brandon, congratulations on the win. You've had a great start in this first half of this 2020 Court National Series, and to finally get that first win in one of the premier events, and it was going to feel real good.
Definitely does. I feel like there are a couple of races that hopefully we should have won earlier this year, but didn't get a chance to. So it's glad to finally seal one off.
Just talk us through the night. You started in position 5, and we've been asking all the drivers how much the dirty air, played a factor with this. And I'm sure at points it worked against you, but once you got that 57 Chevy up front, I'm sure it flipped and was maybe a saving grace there with some of those late restarts having Mitchell and Jordan all over you.
Yeah, definitely. I was nervous. I hadn't led under much green flag conditions until the very end there, so I didn't know how the car would react, and obviously trying to save tires at the same time in the instance that we did get a long run. So it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of mirror driving, especially there at the end, trying to hold off Jordan and Mitchell, and I know that I definitely cut it pretty tight to the inside line off of 4 on those last couple of laps. It seemed to have worked out.
Of course, a real special event tonight with the 6th annual Finish the Fight 400. That number 57 machine, this seemed to be representing the Alzheimer's Association. Just tell us a little bit about what they do and why you decided to put them on the car tonight.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, a big part of the car was the walk to end Alzheimer's. So certainly had family affected by this. My grandmother on my mother's side suffered from it before ultimately passing. So this is dedicated to her and my mom. So my mom was super psyched to see this car on Court Vision tonight. So I'm glad that we put it in the victory lane. And I know obviously there are a lot of great charities that were represented tonight. So hopefully everybody is able to contribute to their respective ones and understand what each one stands for. And hopefully we can get somewhere, at least with Alzheimer's, to get a cure.
And moving back to the race that I mentioned, of course, you've had a good start to the first half of this season because now we start to count it down and it starts to ramp up in intensity with 10 weeks in the books. You came into tonight 20 points out of the top spot in this battle for the championship. Of course, a win tonight going to help as well. How do you continue this challenge for the championship headed into next week when we head to Richmond?
Yeah, definitely. I know Richmond will be tough, particularly from Jordan. He's probably the best in the league on short track, so just hoping to try and continue getting some top 5s in there, and ultimately points will shake out where they do.
It's been a fun season so far, Brandon, and as well a fun show tonight. We appreciate the time. Anybody else you want to say hi to before we let you go?
No, just thank you guys again for doing this. It's been awesome being able to come back and watch all the races and having some great commentary from y'all. So I appreciate everything that Dave has obviously done for Court, and Evan, you and Zane coming on board the last few weeks to enjoy the races with us.
We've been having a lot of fun with it, and certainly there'd be no show without you guys on the track putting it on for us. Brandon, thanks for chatting. Congratulations on the win, and we'll catch you next Wednesday night.
Thank you.
The race winner tonight from Fontana in the Finish the Fight 400. A big thanks, Brandon, Jordan, and Mitchell for their time post-race in this one. And another week of the Court National Series falls into our rearview mirror. A thriller in Fontana, an ever-evolving championship picture, and a battle at America's premier short track next Wednesday, David, as I'll pass it back off to you to bring us home.
Yeah, and we will be heading to the Commonwealth of Virginia for the Commonwealth 400 from the Richmond Raceway out there in Richmond, Virginia. And Evan's already kind of getting flashbacks to that Coke race a few weeks ago. Oh, no. I hope it's not going to be that bad. I don't foresee it being
that was a
bad.
Race? I thought that was just a caution race. I thought they were just pacing the entire race.
We can't say much more. We have a really, really exciting week of court action for you next week. But before we get to that, we have right here on the big board the Subaru IRX All-Star Invitational at the Indianapolis Raceway Park or Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. That'll be on at 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday night. Evan and Jonathan Simone will be on the call for that one over on iRacing.com/live. I just want to give a quick shout out. This might take a little long, but I have to do it. I'm going to list off everybody's charity of choice here tonight. If you're interested, if you got a favorite driver in court, or if you're watching one of your friends or your loved ones, it wouldn't be remiss. We tried to mention as many as we could on the show tonight, but it just would not be fair to everyone if we did not mention them, and we will do so right now. Brett Black in the 4 car ran the Prostate Cancer Foundation. Mike Husby in the 6 car ran the Canadian Cancer Society. Jake Finch ran the Pit Stops for Hope. Patrick Lindsay ran Birmingham Cares. Roger Espinoza ran the Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami. Jeffrey Miller ran Chefs for America World Central Kitchen. John Dragonetti, who DNQ'd the event, ran the Atrium Health Levine Children's Hospital. John Wood ran the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. Steve Luvender ran DriveFirst.org. Aaron Bean ran the Tony Stewart Foundation. Julie Medor was supporting the victims of the Nova Scotia shootings and the IWK Children's Hospital. Andrew Hess, who is the brainchild of this entire event, and I forever am thankful for him coming up with this idea 6 years ago, represented the American Cancer Society. Phil Clark represented Feeding America. Chris Sweat supported the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Joseph Cervone supported the LGBT Network. Tony Johns supported Direct Relief. Kyton Bumbersbach supported the Trevor Project. Anthony Hyatt supported the Children's Heart Foundation. Stephen Taylor supported the American Cancer Society. Sean Brandt, who DNQ'd for the event, supported the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Kevin Bingle supported Souls for Souls. DeMonte Dotson supported the Joyful Heart Foundation. Alex Ripstein supported the North Carolina Zoo. Tyler Tucker supported the Driven to Save Lives organ donation. Brandon Ward, our race winner, supported the Alzheimer's Association. John Wilco supported the Hear the World Foundation. Chad Holmes was running the sponsor that I was going to run, and I actually painted his car for him, and again, I thank you, Chad, supported the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Justin Bland supported the Ovarian Cancer Research Alliance. Matt Wood supported the PKD Foundation. Davis Warren was supporting the Strikeout Cancer Campaign. Dylan Gooden was supporting the Dementia Society of America. Robert Hill Jr. was supporting the University of Ottawa Heart Institute. James Gutta was supporting Planned Parenthood and Everytown for gun control. Jordan Erickson was supporting the Attack Addiction organization. Johnny Eckert was supporting the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, along with Johnny Parham, who was also supporting the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Steve Boylan was supporting Games Done Quick. Jeff Gross was supporting Osharch and Save the Whales Foundation. Nick Stoller was also supporting the Alzheimer's Foundation. Justin Rector was supporting the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And finally, Mitchell Riggs was supporting the Disabled American Veterans. I apologize for that long, but I would be remiss. These guys all work hard to promote these various causes that mean enough to them. And if you liked what you heard, or if you like what you saw, if you became a fan of one of these drivers tonight, if you're new to CORT or whatever, I would ask, if you enjoyed it, maybe support their charity of choice. I'm sure if you got in touch with them on Twitter, or if you want to get in touch with me at NotDamnBoys on Twitter, I would be very happy to point in the direction of the driver that you found entertaining tonight, or the cause that you believe in. And speaking of entertainment, we've had a hell of a race tonight. This finish, the Fight 400, always delivers, and with a 10-lap run to the finish like we saw, it certainly was another marquee event for the championship online racing teams. We have 2 more races of CORT National Series action here on CORT Vision for you in the next couple weeks. We'll be at Richmond, like Evan said just a moment ago, next Wednesday night, and then we will be wrapping up our coverage of the CORT National Series 2 Wednesdays from tonight at the newly rescanned Texas Motor Speedway. So, again,
also, Dave,
yes,
I don't mean to interrupt. I also want to point out that while you're giving out that list, I put out all the charities into the Twitch chat. So if you're listening to this or watching the rebroadcast,
fantastic. Thank you.
The driver names and car numbers and the charities are listed in the Twitch chat. Feel free to Google it, take a look at them, do some research, and if you want to help out some worthy causes, there you go.
Oh, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. And what we'll do also, we'll roll the list that I have on the back end of the stream. We'll roll that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we will sign off the air here tonight. But again, thank you guys. It's been awesome to do these races with you guys, and we still got 2 more. But again, Evan, thank you so much. Zane, same. And hopefully we can have a lot of fun at Richmond next week.
Hey, did we find out if thumbs were fingers or not?
I put it in the poll. I put it in the Twitch chat. I was like, put it in the poll. Is a thumb a finger? And appeared as if nobody took the bait. So again, if we put a poll out, yeah, if we put a poll out, don't be shy. Voice your opinion. This is America. You can voice your opinion, and we will absolutely agree with you. In fact, you know what? We have a quick summary of it. CTAC Crazy Max on Twitter or on the Twitch chat says 75% of the audience says yes. So it is a thumb is a finger. So there you go.
The court audience is smart.
Yeah, exactly. We are so smart, SMRT. So again, thank you so much for watching the Finish the Fight 400. We hope we entertained you, and we hope that we raise some awareness for some great causes here tonight. Next week we'll be right back to normal. We'll be fighting amongst ourselves instead of fighting for a cause when we head to Richmond. So for Evan Pasoko and Zane the Bearded One, I'm David Amboys. And again, we'll be rolling these charities on the screen for you to wrap up our stream here tonight. And we hope that you will join us next week for the Court National Series over at Richmond. So for all of us here, I'm David Amboys. So long, everybody from Court Vision. Brandon Ward, your winner of the 6th annual Finish the Fight 400. So long, everybody.
This is Hugs Belly Rubs. We'll see you at the track.